Now, talking about the lack of humanism, it it's not surprising to me. Well, it is surprising. It's surprising. It's not surprising to me at all that I see something and nobody else sees it. It's happened before, and it's happening now with what's happening with these residential schools and the Catholic cover up. So there's two things that are obvious to me. The minor thing that's obvious to me is that the Catholic Church is an institution run by people who protect this institution called the Catholic Church at all costs. No matter what happens, the image of the church, the false image of church piety has to be maintained at all times, at all costs, by everybody. So, anything that comes up that reflects negatively on the Catholic Church is not addressed, or is excused off, or is swept under the rug, or is just not, or is distracted from, essentially just disappears off the front pages. That's the first thing, is how they stick together and how they protect their institution. Horrible, horrible. And the second thing, and I've said this before many times. The second thing is the prevalence of human abuse, human adult abuse, child abuse, all sorts of negative experiences have been perpetrated by the Catholic Church, by the people in the Catholic Church, those that have studied to become priests, to become Catholic or Christian leaders, those that have gone to seminary school. They've studied the Bibles, they've written essays, they've probably gained some kind of degree in Bible study and in God and divinity and blah, blah, blah. And they have had it drummed into them, indoctrinated into them about the absolute truth of God. There are laws of God to be followed and not to be transgressed, because there is a price to pay for transgression of these laws of God. And according to Christian tradition, the price to pay is hell. What's hell? Hell's just a word, right? Hell. Who cares? I had a pizza called Hell. It was great. I loved it. It was Hell pizza. Well, according to the Catholics, hell is a place where, for eternity, you, having transgressed the law of God, will stay. Now, hell is a place which consists of a lake of burning fire, of fire and brimstone. I'm not sure what brimstone is, but I'm sure it's boiling rocks or something. So you're going to be sitting in this lake of burning rocks and fire for eternity. And you're going to be feeling the pain of the burning rocks and fire for eternity because you transgressed the laws of God. Remember that. These priests are trained to teach. They teach what they teach. So now, when you have these priests in their scores, if not tens of scores in number, transgressing those same laws of God and abusing children, abusing adults, lying, emotionally scarring people for life, permanently, permanent trauma. When these people do it in droves, in dozens of scores, but in the numbers, wouldn't that indicate to you that these people do not believe in the God who they say we shouldn't transgress the laws of, yet they willy-nilly go ahead and do it with no regard to their future in eternal hell? Because you know why? They don't believe in it. These Catholics are selling you a bill of goods. They don't believe in it. If they did believe in it, then pedophilia in the Catholic Church would be this much of a problem. This much of a problem. If the God that they believed in really did exist for them, for each and every single one of these priests. So don't tell me that Catholicism is a force for good. Well, it's not. Now, I seem to have, I'm not quite sure how this is going to begin, because I don't seem to have pressed the live button for a while. I was yabbering on. But, nevertheless, let me go and do what I like to do the most, actually. And that is to go and say hello to the chat room. Hello chat room. Who's around? God equals the square root of -1. Did I tell you I like that name? So, what do you think, God, about my contention that Catholicism itself proves that God doesn't exist simply by the behavior of the people who study and preach the doctrine and obviously don't believe it because they behave very badly against the doctrine that they preach? I'm not so sure how to. Hello, Crypto. Good morning. I'm not so sure how to process all this, and I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, how much of it anybody got, because I pressed the go live button way too late. I went on and on and on for about 4 hours before I realized I wasn't alive. Well, I'm just kidding. Maybe 10 minutes. Oh, good. We will be getting people. So I do plan to keep this room running all day. Obviously, there will be large breaks. But there is a link at the top of this chat. Lulz Junkie! Come on in! Anyway, there's a link for the conversation room at the top of the chat, and what it looks like at this point, because it's a Jitsi room, and it's the first time I'm kind of using it for the room, for the meet room or the conversation room part of it. And at this point, it looks like that, because I don't have I just kind of set it up yesterday, and that's my my avatar thingy. Actually, it looks bigger than that, doesn't it? share the whole thing. There. That's what this room looks like to me. And I'm the only one in it. So if you can, there's a Meet Jitsi link at the top. And you are welcome to join anytime. Now now I do have to let you in once you join. So if I'm away, replenishing my coffee cup or some such thing, you will be placed in a lobby. While you wait in the lobby, we will be serving coffee, tea, and biscuits. So please feel free. Make yourself at home. I need to recognize my viewers right now. God equals the square root of -1. I recognize you. Cryptomeria, thank you for joining. I recognize you. Lulz Junkie 2018. Hello, 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 hello. And I recognize you too. I actually need to catch up with Lulz Junkie. We haven't spoken in years. She was like a very close colleague back in the old days of live streaming conversation room endeavors. But those days are more like screaming matches, and hopefully we've all matured and grown up since then. Right, so you get the idea that there is that link. I just to test it, I hope somebody clicks on it just to make sure that it works. I'll tell you why I say that is because usually when I post a link, I'm able to pin it, to the top of the chat. But now it doesn't allow me to pin it. Now I'm wondering why. Now it's gone. Okay, I'm going to try and pin it. I'm going to have to post it again. All right, Gypsy. So I'm going to post it again. And there it is. And this is the one, as you see, I've posted there. I'm going to try, and it won't let me. Oh, sorry. It's let me pin it now. Okay, earlier it wouldn't let me pin it. I repent for not pinning the message before or thinking that it wasn't. No, this is way better than StreamYards. StreamYards. Okay, I'll tell you what. Jesus is Lord. Good morning, by the way, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. StreamYards #1 is limited. You've got like an hour. That's it, and you're also limited to number of hours a month or something. And that is not good. What I have here is open source. I've gone open source all the way. I have OBS, Studio, open source, no restrictions. Jitsi, the one I just posted on the top there, that's the room that we can sit in and talk for 24 hours at a time, if you like. We're not restricted to 1 hour. There's no limit. So what do you mean get StreamYards? I actually looked into StreamYards. Listen to this. StreamYards is, if you want to sort of get a little bit better, even though it's not unlimited like open source, you got to pay, I don't know, $13 a month, something like that. And this is all US. And remember that I'm in the third world underdeveloped country of Canada. It doesn't have currency. So that's $14 a month for StreamYard. Then there's Google Meet. which has an hour limit, as I found out yesterday so abruptly. And you can upgrade to something for $20 a month or whatever it was. Again, you don't get the open source experience of there being no restrictions. Zero. This is what this is. My Jitsi room is an open source program like OBS Studio, and this is what I'm going to use for these types of discussions, where it's basically an open discussion conversation room. Anyone can join, and there's no time limit. So Jesus is Lord. What do you think now? So, I had I was reviewing a video this morning. Have you ever heard of Cosmic Skeptic? Cosmic Skeptic? He was talking about how I got over my fear of hell. I want to share that with you. Why not? Why not, I say. Why not? So, let me find it, because it's hidden somewhere. Oh, there it is. Right. Oops. There we go. He pretty much says that he was a kid, of course, grew up with hell beaten into his head, and somebody asked him, does he still fear hell? And is there any trauma here? I ask you. Let's listen.
As an atheist, do you still fear hell? I'm guessing not, but how did you progress to not fearing it anymore? I'm so glad that I get to address this. I made a video a few years ago called something like Why I, as an Atheist, Am Afraid of Hell, essentially outlining the fact that because I was brought up as a Roman Catholic, I was taught as a child, at least implicitly, that there was this real place called hell that existed. It was this fiery place of brimstone and torment where you'd go for eternity to suffer for your sins if you don't repent and turn your life to Jesus. And yeah, that's a pretty scary prospect to be thinking about, especially at a young age. And I said in that video that even though at that point I was an atheist, I couldn't help have these psychologically lingering fears where I'd have these moments where I'd kind of snap into this sense of, I'm going to hell, I'm going to suffer, and then I'd snap out of it again. But it'd be quite a scary thing to think about. But I'm glad to report that that doesn't happen anymore. And I'm especially glad to report this to those of you who took it upon yourselves to let me know that the reason that I was fearing hell was because God was simply still trying to reach me in one of the most immoral and terror-inducing ways that I could possibly imagine. Doesn't happen anymore. But I know that a lot of you still feel the way that I felt back then, and so let me explain some of the ways in which I overcame this fear, hoping that that can help you too. We first need to note that the hell that I was afraid of is a specific kind of hell, right? It's the hell of traditional Catholicism. It's what the philosopher Jonathan Kvanvig has surmised into 4 theses. Okay, I've just pulled them up here so that I don't miss any out, but Kvanvig says that the traditional concept of hell has 4 theses. First, the existence theses. That is to say, hell exists. It's a real place. It's not some kind of metaphor or some state of non-existence. Second, anti-universalism. That is, hell isn't empty, right? You could say that there is this place called hell, but that no one actually ends up going there. That's not part of the traditional doctrine. There are actually people in hell. 3, the no escape thesis. Once you're in hell, you can't leave hell. There's no possibility for your escape. And consequently, this means that hell is eternal. And 4th is the thesis of retribution. The people who are in hell are there because they deserve to be so. Now, I won't go into it in depth.
Let me say something here. I'm not, obviously, I agree with this guy, but hell, isn't there hell on earth? What about these poor residential school kids before they died and were buried in boxes in the garden? What kind of hell did they experience, and for how long? before they died. Now remember that every single one of these children who were killed, who were murdered by the Catholic Church in Canada, every single one of those children would have been protected by the Catholic Church if they were fetuses in the womb. The Catholic Church would have gone to any length to prevent an abortion, in any case whatsoever, of anyone. So you got a bit of a situation here where, on the one hand, the Catholic Church is calling abortion murder. And then on the other hand, when the kids grow up, they reach the tender age of 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. They get ripped out of their houses. They get thrown into Catholic kids into prison, brutalized, oppressed, humiliated, starved, beaten to death. Can somebody explain to me, where is the logic of Catholicism now? No one can do that. I doubt it. I'm waiting.
Depth right now, but a lot of atheists like to claim that the Christian God is an evil God or something like this. I've argued elsewhere that if the Christian God does exist, then it's a God of perfect justice. It's a loving God, that is to say. If you think that the Christian God exists but is evil, you're not actually thinking of the Christian God, because the Christian God, at least according to Christianity, is by definition perfectly just and perfectly moral. What this means is that the God that I believed in and the hell that I believed in had this underlying sense of justice, right? If I was afraid of going to hell, the only way I could end up in hell is if a perfectly just God sent me to hell. Right? And so the only situation in which I could actually end up in hell, in the way that I was afraid of at least, was if a perfectly just God sends me to hell. But it follows from that if he did, I would actually deserve to be in hell. Now, there are a few things that we can take from this. None of Kvanvig's theses imply that this hell needs to be a place of severe suffering, right? But that's the hell that I was afraid of, so we'll add that onto the pile. We could say something like, well, this idea of hell that we have, of suffering and torment that lasts for eternity, surely nobody can ever be justly sent there. I mean, a lot of people think that, you can't have an infinite punishment for a finite crime. I think that there are ways to argue around that point, but at the very least it seems plausible that a hell as bad as the one that I was afraid of is not one that anybody could be justly sent to. But if that's the case, bearing in mind that I was afraid of the Christian God sending me to hell, the only way that the Christian God can send me to hell is if he does so justly. But if no one can justly be sent to the hell that I was afraid of, then clearly I shouldn't be afraid of being sent to that hell, because there's no way that I could be sent to it, if that makes sense. But even if we just accept that it is justifiable to send some people to hell, then there's this weird sense of consolation from the fact that, by definition, this would be just, right? Like, I mean, if it...
Okay, so... all right. I'm going to take a case of somebody who has sentenced many people to hell. Have you ever heard of a human being identified on the internet in this community as Gary Milne? Well, Gary Milne is a Catholic, baptized Catholic. And Gary Milne doesn't like Catholics. He's like a self-hating Catholic. You know what? I kind of lost my train of thought on this one. I was going to use Gary Milne as some kind of an example of what I was going to say, but I will get my thought back. Do not fear. Let's hear this gentleman finish up. Well, not so much finish up, but continue.
If it is genuinely the case that I deserve to be in hell, which is, I'll remind you, the only way that a just God could send me to that hell is if I deserve to be there genuinely. I like to think that if I actually deserve to be in hell, that I'd be happy to end up there. Now, my immediate response might be to say something like...
Okay, I remembered my point about Gary Milne now. So, he is continuously condemning people that they're going to go to hell. You are going to hell. You are going to hell. All right. You don't believe in Jesus. You're going to hell. You're an atheist. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. Okay. So now, after a lifetime of condemning people to hell, Gary Milne is going to he's going to pass away at some point, right? And he's going to go up to heaven, because he's not going to hell. He's going to heaven. And after a lifetime of sending people to hell, he's... Sorry, loves. I lost it there for a sec. After a lifetime of condemning people to hell, he's going to go up there to heaven, and he's going to have a big stretch. And he's going to sit there, and he's going to sit there for eternity, right? And he's going to start thinking, geez, this is great. I'm with Jesus because I'm so pious. And then he's going to start thinking about all the people that he condemned to hell for the silliest of reasons, because he's going to have time to think. And it's going to dawn on him after a while, oh, geez, I told Sidney Winston to go to hell because I couldn't defeat his argument, and I told him to go to hell. He's going to hell. Was that the right thing to do? Oh. And then he's going to sit there for an eternity. That's going to niggle. Every woman that he insulted, every young person that he humiliated, every single one of those people, he's going to start niggling in his consciousness. Because he's going to be there for eternity. They've got nothing else to do but use your mind. And eventually, after nigh on an eternity, Gary Milne is going to be sitting in heaven. His mind is going to be filled with the flashback of every mistake he made when he told somebody that he or she was going to hell simply because of that person not agreeing with Gary Milne's absurd dogma. So Gary Milne, enjoy your time in heaven. Remember, when you're in heaven, you have a mind, and a mind can think. Have a lovely time. At least I got my point out.
Obviously, I don't deserve this. No one deserves this. No one deserves to be in eternal punishment and brimstone and fire and all of this kind of stuff. But remember, if that's the case, then because you can only go to hell if you actually deserve it, then you won't go to hell. And if it is the case that I actually deserve to be in hell, then reflecting on it, I think to myself, well, the kinds of sins that the average human being commits are certainly not deserving of the kind of punishment that we hear about in these horror stories of being tormented and tortured in hell by the devil and stuff, right? So, like, you realize that there are different Christian views on hell, right? The one that was hammered into you as a child isn't the only one that exists. Some people think that hell is literally just separation from God, right? It's not like active torment. It's just being in a state of disunity with God, which maybe when you're in it and you realize that God actually exists and you were wrong all along, does cause a form of suffering, the suffering of knowing that you could have been with, perfect love and justice, but you're now not. That's a form of suffering, but it's worlds apart from this kind of like being whipped by the devil and over a cauldron and being kind of having your skin ripped off and all of this kind of nonsense. existence. And if that's the case, then like, yeah, I mean, I guess it would kind of suck to end up there, but I've got to say I'm a lot less scared of that kind of prospect than the kind of thing that I was afraid of before. So basically, I guess to summarize, the hell that I was afraid of was one that was just so bad. It was torturous and fiery and horrible, and to the extent that when I think about it now, I just don't think there's any way that someone could be justifiably sent to a place like that. At least not someone like me. Maybe some people on Earth deserve that kind of thing, but certainly not me and most other people on planet Earth, I'd like to think. But if that's the case, if it really is this place that's so bad that no one deserves to go there, then remember that because the only way that I could be sent there, if Christianity is true, is if a perfectly just God sends me there, then if I genuinely don't deserve to be there, I've got nothing to be afraid of because he could not send me there. The big consideration that changed everything for me is realizing that if Christianity is true, then the God that exists is a perfectly loving, perfectly just God. And that's what I'd want to drill home. If you're scared of the existence of a perfectly just God, then maybe you should do some self-reflection and think about why that might be. For someone like myself, who likes to think that I live a fairly just life, at least to the highest extent that I can, I think that if that Christian God does exist, I've got nothing to be afraid of because that God would be a God of perfect justice and perfect love, and so would treat me accordingly. What are your plans for the future, vying to be the fifth member of the Four Horsemen of Atheism? No, presuming you mean the Four Horsemen of New Atheism there. I hope it should be clear by now that I'm really not trying to affiliate with the New Atheist movement. I know I kind of used to. I used to really, really, really like Christopher Hitchens. I've even got a bust of him sat on my shelf just there if you hadn't noticed already. And of course, I've had Richard Dawkins on the podcast and would love to have Sam Harris on too. But I really don't think that these guys are particularly, how can I say this, theologically adequate? I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I guess I just haven't found their philosophy, if it can even be called that, particularly adequate when it comes to discussing the existence of God. I mean, Christopher Hitchens, obviously a fantastic polemicist, but just nothing of philosophical substance, as I've discussed at length in a previous video. Again, the link is in the description. Richard Dawkins, fantastic scientist, yada yada. But again, I'm reading The God Delusion. Who was it? That's right, it was Terry Eagleton's. Eagleton once wrote, "Imagine someone holding forth on biology whose only knowledge of the subject is the Book of British Birds, and you have a rough idea of what it feels like to read Richard Dawkins on theology." And I think he's probably right there. I mean, there's a reason why over the past 3 years of studying philosophy at Oxford, someone like Richard Dawkins hasn't been named once except to be essentially ridiculed in the science and religion paper. It's a bit unfortunate, but it's kind of just the way it is. I think the biggest skill that the new atheists had collectively was their oratory skills, right? They could debate, they could speak to an audience, and they could win them over, right? But when you actually sit down and analyze the philosophical substance of what they're saying, you find that there's not actually much substance to be analyzed in the first place. So no, I mean, I'm not trying to kind of make atheism a big deal. It's just kind of there. It's just, yeah, I don't believe in God. Whoop-de-doo. I don't really want to make a big song and dance about it. I'm also increasingly entering into this debate about the usage of the word atheism and whether it's appropriately used to describe simply a lack of belief in God. I've always very strongly advocated that atheism just means a lack of belief in God. But studying at university, I found that this just kind of doesn't exist in the academy, right? Like in academic works, it's always used, the term, I mean, atheism, and it's always defined in all of the dictionaries, all of the philosophical dictionaries, as the belief that God does not exist. And I thought that, you know, whatever, it doesn't really matter because whatever term you use, what matters is the actual belief. I mean, I could call myself an atheist, I could call myself a theist, by which I mean that I don't believe in God. As long as you understand what I mean by the term, it doesn't matter, right? But there is actually a really interesting discussion around the term and whether it even makes sense to say that atheism is just a lack of belief in God. That is essentially a brain state, whereas theism is not a brain state but a proposition, right? Theism is something that can be true or false. And so it seemed that atheism, which appears at least on the surface to be the negation of theism, would also have to be some kind of proposition. But if it's just the lack of belief in God, then it's nothing more than a psychological state, which it seems weird to contrast with a proposition. And, you know, in the past, I've appealed to the Greek origin of the word. I've said, look, I mean, the Greek a meaning without and theos meaning God put together to make atheism. That's what atheism must mean. But look, I mean, this is clearly not a very helpful way to define terms. I mean, the Greek origin of the word idiot is from idios, meaning private. And, you know, I sometimes am somewhat of a private man. Does that mean I'm an idiot? Well, I mean, that's
Well,
It's not why I'm an idiot, but you see what I'm saying. It's not particularly helpful to just
Well,
refer
that's
to
just
the Greek
not going
origins of
anywhere,
terms
sir.
to give us an indication of how we...
Ramble. Anyway, just to let you know that this is an open discussion room, and to prove it to you, I'm going to plop myself right in there. Plop myself right in there, just to prove it to you. So this is how I plop myself right in there. This I go like that, and then I say, hello, fine people, how are you? And you should be able to hear me. See how it works? Hello. There we go. See, you see there's a little something here that on the SW that moves. That means I'm speaking to the group, not necessarily for the group. No, I didn't want that. I wanted that one. So there you go. Please join. Let me go back to the chat room where on the side chat where it's actually people there. Woo, baby, let's go. I see that Jesus, his Lord, has disappeared because he's so scared. He's scared. Why is he scared, his Lord? Why is he scared? David says, Gary last night kept referencing how he had the high ground because he's raised 5 children, all who hate him now. Yes, we know that. Ooh, David, ooh, yeah, you might be right about nobody really caring about Gary when he's not on the internet. Gary Milne is a narcissist, everybody. He's a malignant narcissist who is in denial, of course, of his narcissism. And he feeds his narcissism by his continuous insulting, denigrating, humiliating, screaming, yelling, overpowering, controlling people who usually leave there, either broken, traumatized, or bewildered, laughing, giggling at this man-child representing Christianity in its totality, the Christian God. I hope somebody makes a documentary one day called something like Gary Milne, the greatest creator of atheists on this planet. You might get an honorary plaque from the Global Atheist Society, Gary, for creating the most atheists in history. Just by being you and pretending to be a Christian. Because you're just as bad as those Catholic priests who commit those atrocities while at the same time ostensibly believing in the God of vengeance, etc., hell and heaven. But they go about it anyway. Just like you did, Gary. You went about it anyway. You went about your ungodly activities in your marriage, and as a father, and as a human being, you've busted them all wide open. You're done. You've exploded them. by your own doctrine, Gary Milne, you are going to your hell. And if you don't go to your hell, if you do happen to go to your idyllic heavenly space or place, like I say, you've got an eternity for all your rudeness, all your arrogance to catch up to you, because you'll just be a mind with nothing to do. But remember what you did while you were on the planet Earth for such a very, very, very short time, and you're going to be sitting there for eternity. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear a report after halfway through eternity what you think. How you doing, Gary? It's halfway through eternity right now. Let's have an update on YouTube. The YouTube in heaven. By the time you're halfway through eternity, Gary, technology will be such that we'll be able to communicate us in hell with you up there in heaven. Sorry, there'll be 10 to the power of 3 million G by that time. So don't worry. We'll be having a good time. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to keep cool in hell, because we're smarter than you. We won't have to dwell with our consciousness in hell like you will have to live with your consciousness in heaven, Gary. You've made a big blunder, Gary. Big blunder. And I invite you right now, any one of you blundering Christians, to come and hear me castigate you about what you've done on this planet throughout history. Come on in. Although I prefer friendly people coming in. If you're respectful and you're submissive to Sidney Winston, like a good Christian, Lol's Junkie just asked me a question. Is there any decent Christian on YouTube? Okay, well, I'm going to answer that question. No. I don't know what a decent Christian is, and I would find it very difficult to identify one. Don't forget, to be a Christian, you have to accept a few things. Okay, to be a Christian, you have to accept that Jesus is God. How do you justify that Jesus is God, though, to be a Christian? If you say to me, I'm a Christian, Jesus is God, and I say, oh yeah? How do you justify that Jesus is God if it's just a man? You'll say to me, but Jesus was born through immaculate conception. I didn't say that Mary was a virgin. All I said was that God impregnated Mary. So you got to buy that. You got to buy that immaculate conception concept. That's the first thing. If you do buy into that concept, you're done. You're a proven idiot. Yet, if you continue with this immaculate conception belief, wow, that opens up a Pandora's box of anything you like. But the popular BS stories are, okay, so immaculate conception, and then the birth in the manger with these strangers bearing gifts. We don't know who the real father is, but there's strangers bearing gifts. I happen to believe that Mary, the mother of Jesus, if the story is true, then the conception, this is how the conception went, because Immaculate Conception is nonsense. What happened was, Mary was out in the desert with some guys, with a boyfriend, and some of the friends. And as was the custom in the day, an orgy broke out in the desert with Mary and Joseph and these three unknown men. Now, as a result of that orgy, Mary fell pregnant. And of course, did not know which of the four from that orgy, from that experience, from that day or night, which of the four was the father of the child. Which explains why there were four men at the birth of this baby, because they could all four potentially have been the father. However, the authors very smartly decided to write that neither of them, someone's here, that neither of them were the father, but that an immaculate, divine something or other was the father. We have someone here. Good day. Hello. Let me see how this works. David. David is here. Let me see if I can get David to respond, because I can hear him, but you don't hear me. David. Right, David. You got the floor, David.
Oh, I was just actually checking to see if I could use that. Did you see last night Tom Rabbit's upload of Darth just beating up people in his little separate room?
I saw the one where he was going on at the woman.
Yeah, after a bunch of just having women come in and just beating them and kicking them and...
Oh, and pulling arms and legs of hamsters and gerbils and things. That one.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Seriously sick.
The guy is a sick fuck. You know that he really is.
He really is just a sick guy. Yeah, and I found it interesting. He's backed into his little corner there, where he can only be in that room with his toadies. Yeah, over his shoulder and just free to kick and ban whoever at any moment.
Yeah, he's got. I noticed he's got at least two moderators that are his sort of sycophants. Parakeet.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Parakeet's an absolute Darth sycophant, like a puppy dog. And there was one other I can't remember what his name was.
There's Concrete, and then there's who is it? Antonio. Who goes by the 40.
Oh yes, Antonio Brojo. Brojo Saved by Grace. That's what he goes by, and I think he also goes by the 35-year-old virgin. Something.
Cringy group there, but
oh yeah, creepy as fuck.
I went back and looked. Darth won't do them anymore apparently, but I saw the modern day debates where Darth went against I think his name's Ken Drysdale. That was really good. I watched that sometime yesterday. I listened into it. Yeah. Ken Drysdale really tore him up. You really tore him up bad.
I don't think I've heard that one. No.
You have seen it?
No, I haven't. How long was it? Did it go on for any amount of time?
Oh gosh, I think it's a modern day debate. It's a couple hours.
Oh yeah.
It starts off pretty good, but Ken, he doesn't let him get away with his stuff. He just keeps calling him Kent Hovind and Satan, and he points out that his argument. He said, Darth, you just keep repeating the same thing over and over, and your argument, you can just replace your God with the black box in the sky. It's the same thing. There's no difference. And then Darth, go into it. Yeah, but is it personal? But it's a personal. It just throws out stuff to try to throw you off.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought Ken. It was a good one to review because Ken really. You really tore him up pretty good.
Too bad. Yeah. So sad.
But yeah, Gary, I think it's one of the reasons he won't do modern day debates anymore. He can't get away with what he needs in there.
Yeah.
He needs to be able to just mute you and harass you and call you, ask you how old you are. How old are you? Oh. Acting like a child.
I know. Why does he do that? It's creepy, man.
Just more projection. He's acting like a little punk, so got to act like he's older than you.
Yeah.
It's all crazy, but probably one of the best, kind of takedowns of Darth I've seen in there. Mr. Ken Drysdale. I never heard of him. Apparently, he's a Hollywood lion and tiger trainer.
I'd never heard of him either.
Pretty interesting. Really interesting, yeah. And he's definitely smart. I mean, he was not letting Darth get away with his crap.
How did it end? Did you watch the whole thing?
Well, of course, it ends with Q&As, and it ends with, Darth whining about how he was overtalked and, and all that. But it kind of, the debate segment ended where Ken was saying that I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. You're just repeating your question over and over. Ken said he came here to have a discussion on, theism versus atheism. Of course, Darth just jumps in and he's going to interrogate the atheist because that's what he's all about.
I know.
He's there to interrogate, under a hot light, the atheist, Oh.
I know. I call him Gestapo Gary now. I'm telling you. I hope it catches on.
Yeah, one of Darth's claims, or one of his early claims in that was, well, what I do is I defend the Christian God and the Bible. It's like, oh, you never do that, except for a passing glance saying that he's revealed itself. I mean, he doesn't want to talk about the Bible. He doesn't want to talk about Jesus or any of that.
I'm going to talk about. I have in mind a show where I'm going to start talking about the Bible in its original form, the Hebrew Bible, to Gary. Because I have a clip where he says that the Christianity starts at Genesis 1.
Oh yeah.
So I've got that on. I've got that captured, and then I'm going to go into Genesis 1 and explain to him how Christianity actually doesn't start anyway, because Christianity doesn't really exist, especially not at Genesis 1.
Yeah, made up far later, and it's I think I was talking to S.J. Thomason the other day. She believes that similarly she believes that Christianity started page 1 there in the Old Testament. So Christianity didn't even exist as you see it today till the 4th century.
For 300 years, Christianity was there. There was no one Christianity. There was just a hodgepodge of what you'd call Christianity, right? So
exactly,
these people are deluded.
they didn't have anything that looks like a New Testament of today until year 350 or something like that.
I don't think it was finalized in 400 and something. But I might be wrong on that. But certainly 380, maybe 380. But you know, way long. I mean, right. Christianity starts in the year, I don't know, 30. Let's say.
Supposedly.
Yeah. And it doesn't get canonized until the year 380. Let's say.
Sure.
So that's what 350 years.
Exactly. In between, there was kind of some cults of a Messiah type of thing, and you know, there's nothing like what you see today. But yeah, you know, and they'll call, well, he's the you know, the father of Christianity. He was the founder of the Christian church. And so no, he wasn't. I mean,
see, that's how things get distorted when people start believing shit like that.
I mean, even when this was finalized in 350s or 400, just to see what Jesus ever said about what it requires to follow him is hating your family. You have to give up all your possessions.
Yeah, that too. That especially.
Yeah, the things he says about how to follow him are not anything like what they doing today. You have to make your family hate you and all your possessions. There's another big one. I just can't recall what it was. It's weird. What else did Jesus say to follow him? Oh shoot, I can't remember. I can't recall it. But clearly not like anything that's going on today. The Christianity of today.
Christianity today is just a bunch of zealots. There's no other reason for it.
Yeah, still feeling, well, they feel like they've been saved, and so, you know, that's going to take away any rhyme or reason. They can't handle not to know anything. That's another one, too, is they don't know everything, but Jesus explains everything, though. If you just believe in Jesus.
I want someone to challenge my argument that God doesn't exist because of so many clergy committing pedophilia and crimes against the Bible. They must know that God doesn't exist because they're the ones who've studied it, and they're still committing these crimes. I want to hear somebody come in and defend, or should I say not defend, but attack what I just claimed.
Yeah, those clergy certainly don't seem to.
And I'm not talking just about the ones who killed the kids in Canada. I'm talking about the ones over the centuries.
Oh, well, yeah, hundreds and...
Yeah, so it just proves to me that they have proven to me just by these multi-generational crimes in the name of God. They've just proved to me that God does not exist. They don't believe that God exists. Why should I?
Yeah, more actions through the Crusades and Inquisitions. Just they're acting on what God told them to do. Just like the Old Testament, they had to kill these people because they were so evil.
No, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about those who committed personal crimes against children and the weak.
Oh, sure, yeah, and that was because God told him to. It's the same. I kind of laugh whenever they're talking about the Old Testament and say the Canaanites, and they say, well, these people were all so evil.
Okay, that's fair enough. Then tell us how evil. What was the extent of the evilness? I want to hear. What? I mean, look at the world today. The evilness, the evil in this world is I don't think it could be worse than it was in the times of the Canaanites or whoever, or those that were killed in the flood or whatever, right? What the hell were they doing that was so bad that's worse than what they do today?
It's ridiculous. It's clearly just an excuse. Where, we had to go wipe out these people because they were so evil.
Because they didn't believe in our God. That's how evil they were.
Yeah, because they didn't follow God properly or something.
Or they believed in another God. Oh, let's wipe them out.
A different one, yeah. And that's Jay Thomas, and she's a big one on. She believes that these people were just so evil and that they burned up their children and stuff. And so did Christianity. I mean, went around wiping out people that didn't believe in them and all that too.
It's amazing how Christians and Catholics, specifically, are so ignorant of their own history, and how all Christians are so ignorant of their history in the first 2 or 3 centuries of the first millennium, CE.
Yeah, you get into any conversations about that with them, and they always have an excuse. Of course, it's always an excuse. It's different now because, now it's a new covenant or something, and whatever that's supposed to mean. It's ridiculous. But they'll skirt or tap dance around it, and
they'll find an excuse for anything you like, everything.
Anything for their promised little salvation, or I think people like Jill, they don't want to come around,
he keeps on coming in here and threatening to debate me. I say, come on in. And then he says, no, he doesn't come in. He just put in the side chat there. He says, why you run away? I open up a room and I invite him. And then he says, why you run away?
Makes them feel good or something.
I know. Gives them some kind of a power trip.
Darth does the same thing. He'll mute and block someone and then accuse them of running away.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
Just crazy.
He's just a laughing stock now. He's become better. There are a few YouTubers who literally are not punching bags, but laughing stocks. Darth Dawkins or Gary Milne, Shannon and Jason. Laurel and Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
Mutt and Jeff.
I did run into them much.
Oh, now they've sort of all they've got is Instagram and their archives and lots of people discussing them and commenting on them.
I know the G-Man at one time, and he was involved with them somehow.
He still is.
Still is. Wow.
Yeah, and these are all Christians. Okay, these are all staunch Christians that we're talking about. Every one of them.
Supposedly, it's just crazy. Heard a little rant by G-Man about them, and they ripped him off and tried to give him this house, and I didn't understand.
Yeah, but they keep on going around forgiving each other and then slandering each other, then forgiving each other.
Forgiveness and then re-slandering.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Weird bunch of people. And always thought G-Man's story of how he became a Christian was funny, was when he prayed for some money, because he didn't have any money, but one day he was walking, there was a safe there open on the ground in the street, and that's how,
God works in mysterious ways, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't from a robbery or anything, No. Of course it couldn't be, but of course I don't even believe his story. There's a safe there on the ground with $10,000 inside. It's like, oh, come on, Gary, jeez. How long is that going to last by the side of the road? But that was sure sign that his prayers had been answered for G-Man. Not a bright man, as they say.
Mike Tuarez says that Gary won't do modern day debate anymore because of what Sharon Q did to him.
Oh, sure.
Well, Sharon Q just tore a strip of it. She what she did? She analyzed him right on the spot on. It was
Didn't
brilliant.
like that.
He did
He
not
did
like
not
that
like
at all,
that.
no. But from what I understand, Mike, it's not that he won't do modern day debate anymore. He won't do modern day debate with that same moderator.
Yeah, what's his name? Thomas or something.
Coons.
James.
Coons, something. So, because I think I've seen him do one since, but with a different moderator, because he wouldn't, Gary wouldn't do it with that Coons guy.
Yeah, right. Because James kind of in one of his things on there, James ended up kind of snickering because Darth was having a meltdown. James was kind of snickering about it. And,
How dare he?
How dare he? How dare he? He's a teenage punk. Which it was pretty funny. Gary lost his shit on there, and James was kind of laughing at him. And
well, why wouldn't James be human about it? Why shouldn't he be human about it? And Gary's carrying on like a Gary, and it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. Of course, that's the problem. Gary's not. He's not going to be mocked and ridiculed. Not Gary,
No, Gary.
So of course, they're on the modern day debates. Gary doesn't have any. He doesn't have any powers to mute and kick you. So yeah, and Ken Drysdale too. And there's been a couple others he's been on there, and he's lost terribly on those. So he's not going back to that. He's lost all of them. He'll claim to his own group that he won and completely kicked the ass of them. And
I'm not sure how he spends his days. Does he sit in his Reformation server and wait for people to come in so that he can humiliate them, or does he actually go and seek out narcissistic supply?
I don't know. I don't know.
I have to take this phone call.
Oh yeah.
One moment.
Good girls. Oh. What? Hey, I'll be back in a few. I'm going to go do a couple things and take out the trash, etc.
Sorry. That was a family call. Happy Canada Day and all that kind of stuff. So we are back. Oh, I see David left. Sorry, David. I kind of left you in the lurch there. But nobody else joined. That's not nice. So let's have a look at the chat. Randolph, happy Canada Day, man. Welcome. I know, Mike. Darth Dawkins calls her Shannon Duck Lips. Yet Darth Dawkins doesn't even come on camera. This is what a gormless, spineless jellyfish of a. I'm ashamed to be I'm ashamed to be the same species as Gary Mill. Can I adopt a different species? Huh? Please, anyone? Crypto hung a flag. Thank you for upvoting this video, Randolph. Appreciate it. I hung a flag. I know there is a reason to be upset, but my family fought in World War I and II. Yes, okay. But what about those whose families fought in Iraq and Afghanistan? Does fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan as a Canadian for the Canadian Army carry the same prestige as fighting in World War I and II? That's my question for you, Crypto, considering that you hung a flag, which I did as well. Well, I didn't really hang a flag. I made a scene with a flag, as you can tell, like right here. See, there's my Canada Day contribution. However, this is my regular opening scene. Anyway, with the flag and everything. So there you go. There's my Canada Day image. It isn't Iraq Day. You racist. Iraq lives matter, and every day is Iraq Day. Oh, I guess I should go back to here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, I am back in the chat room. Anybody? Oh, you lost a friend in Afghanistan? Yeah, sorry. Too late for the jokes. I know you can't please everybody all the time. Unfortunately, another thing is I tend to find the dark, black, humorous side to most things. So black humor, which is often misunderstood. If you ever want to understand what black humor is all about, there's a movie I watched many years ago that outlined exactly what black humor is. That movie was called Eating Raoul, as in eating Raoul. My name is Raoul. Look it up, watch it. It was black humor. Well, if people get killed in Afghanistan, you do realize that the NATO's out of Afghanistan, the US is out of Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is probably headed towards civil war. probably, who knows, but still not victorious, and in no way. And sure, they gave their lives in Afghanistan, unfortunately in vain, but then that's what the leaders insisted on. Well, let's salute. How do you salute? But let's salute all those. I'll tell you what, I've got a better idea. Let's salute all those who served and gave their lives in the fight for freedom in the name of Canada. There you go. To update you on the situation in Canada vis-a-vis the heat wave, we are currently sitting at 20 degrees Celsius, where yesterday at this time, or should I say 2 days ago at this time, it was probably 10 degrees hotter. And clear skies with blazing sun. Right now it's cloudy. It's not yucky and tacky. It is comfortable. I finally, after 3 days of regretting it, I finally have come to terms with the fact that I emigrated to Canada. Even though I emigrated to Canada for the cool weather, I was not expecting this, the heat wave, because I get PTSD flashbacks when it comes to heat waves because of all the hot places I've had the misfortune to live in. I am getting a hello. Hello, dog. Hey, dog. You want to come in? Link's at the top. Come on in. I'm boring. I'm going to show you something. No, I don't want to show you that. Yes. I want to show you the chat room that you're missing. That's me without a logo. I guess I should. There you go. Yeah, that's me without a logo. So the link is at the top. Hello, Esther. Come on in. Let's talk about a few things. I've got something on my mind. And I've never met you, dog. David, come back. Sorry I had to leave, but I got a phone call, a family phone call. Might as well follow the, there we go. We'll do the following of the chat. Does anybody have a mind to come in? Am I actually keeping this going for? I could be showing, reviewing, commenting on videos. I could be showing you a deconversion video, maybe by Canadian to celebrate Canada Day. I don't know. I could be doing all sorts of things. I could be making breakfast, brunch at this point in time. Mild 60s crypto, are you crazy? That's you can't survive 60 degrees. I don't think anyone on this planet has ever. Hey, David.
I had to run quick and do something too, real fast, but yep.
Oh, that's no problem. We're back.
Oops, hold on. There, that's better. Got to close the other one.
Yes. Yeah, you got to close the audio for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you get your errand completed?
Oh yeah, just felt like letting the dogs out for a few minutes and went take the trash out. That was it.
So have you met Dog? Have you met the African humanist?
No,
Well, I suggest that they both come in here, and I've never met Dog, but he was on the African Humanists YouTube
Oh, okay.
the other day. He says, I think I remember him being on there.
Come on in. Yeah.
I think he's also a Brit, so
A Brit.
you know they have that cold thing going where it clogs the mind. London fog, I think they call it.
Yes.
Well, the African humanist is saying that she has a previous engagement. She's probably getting ready to have a chat with Dog in about 20 minutes. Oh yeah.
Since you haven't seen that video yet from Modern Day Debates where Darth's on there with Ken Drysdale, I think. Yeah, you should take a look at that one and run through it. It's
we could run through it here, maybe.
Yeah. Of course it's long, it's a modern day debate. I think it's 2.5 hours, but it gets right into it.
Well, let me see if I can find something that like a Tom Rabbit or something.
There's a bunch of good parts.
Yeah.
Ken's just chewing him out.
What's his name? Ken?
I think it's Ken Drysdale. Drysdale. Ken Drysdale.
Ken Drysdale, Darth Dawkins, if there's such a thing.
Yeah, it's quite good one. He doesn't let Darth get away with anything.
Yeah.
He tells him he's pretty much just full of shit the whole time. It's pretty good.
Mark Drysdale.
Mark Drysdale. Okay,
all right, hold on a second. I think Ken Drysdale is a tennis player or something, or cricketer.
Yeah. I think he was the banker on the Beverly Hillbillies, wasn't he? Ken Drysdale.
Darth Dawkins versus Mark. Yeah, these are all over 10. Ooh, here we go. Somebody has made a little one.
It's amazing listening to Darth in that one. He just keeps asking the exact same question over and over, and Mark is answering the questions very well, and Darth would come in and just repeat you haven't answered my question. Oh my God.
Okay, here's a YouTube channel called Paul Ross. So I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to try and share it through here and see if it fucks up my resources or not. Actually, let me switch my camera off because I need to just give me a sec to set this up here.
I'll have to get back into YouTube to see it too.
No. I'll try and stream it into here.
Oh, okay.
And that'll stream straight to YouTube. But I just want to make sure that my camera is deactivated because I need to spare the resources for doing that. Okay, so it's that, and then how do you share video? All right. Oh. YouTube link. Okay, can you... Yes.
your position that what is fundamental and ultimate, the source of all possibility, is impersonal? Is that what you are asserting?
Ask it again, very slowly. Ask me what you are saying, or somebody put it in the comments here so I can understand what you're asking.
Are you asserting what is fundamental and ultimate, that what is the source of all possibility, is not personal? Is that what you're asserting?
No, it's not personal. No, it's
how did you arrive at that?
Because every single person on this earth has a different interpretation of what they believe and what they don't believe. So that's everything that why is it irrelevant?
Because that's the genetic fallacy, which I just explained to you. The fact that people might use wrong reasoning to come to the conclusion that there is an ultimate creator God, it doesn't follow from that there is no God. That's the genetic fallacy, Mark. Yeah, what is your rational justification for what is fundamental and ultimate is impersonal? What's your justification for that?
Your string of words? What would you like me to say there? I don't even really understand what your question is.
You haven't identified to us so far what precisely it is that is fundamental and ultimate, that is not God, that would then dictate what is, can be, or cannot be in this world, all right? So can you please tell me what specifically is it that is fundamental and ultimate that is not God? What is it?
What is there that we need there to be for a God to exist? There is nothing that we see in reality, like I told you, that I feel has anything to do with a God. Nothing.
Now, you have yet to make a case for what is ultimate and fundamental, the source of all possibility, that it is impersonal and not God. Telling me that people have faulty reasonings whereby they concluded what is ultimate is God is a fallacy. It's called the genetic fallacy that you have committed. Now, please tell me, how did you arrive and conclude as to what it is that is fundamental and ultimate and that it is not God? Can you please explain that? I would like for you to make a rational defense for what is ultimate and fundamental, the source of all possibility, and that it's not God. The rationale that you gave is a fallacy. It's the genetic fallacy. Now, do you have any other rationale for what is ultimate and fundamental is not God? Do you have one?
No, I'm done with that question. Move on.
I'm not going to move on. You need to answer the question. So is the ultimate nature of reality that you think produces laws, is that ultimate nature a mystery, or is it identifiable for you, Mark, by which you can say there's no God? Because unless you tell me what is specifically fundamental and ultimate, then you cannot logically and coherently say there is no God that is ultimate. That would be a fallacy if you don't do that. So what is it that is fundamental and ultimate that imposes these other things?
You see, this is his problem. He always says that with us, what is fundamental and absolute, as if there's something that's fundamental and absolute.
Yeah, it has to be something that's...
Why doesn't anybody challenge him on that, this fundamental and absolute
the
thing?
The clear problem with that is what Darth's saying is, okay, we observe nature and stuff. Well, there has to be something fundamental under that. So what's under that one then? So he's just saying it's turtles all the way down.
Yeah, but fundamental and ultimate and the source of all facts and the source of all knowledge and the source of all bullshit. I mean, that is such a red herring. It means nothing.
No, and how do you stop just there? So there's only one level below that, which is the fundamental. So what's fundamental to that then? And on down, I guess he's just saying it's turtles all the way down. Is what he's actually just saying. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. He's not saying anything really, because when he insists on this absolute and fundamental thing, that's his axiom, which I do not accept.
Yeah, it's just an assertion. Bottom line, you know.
My axiom is that energy exists infinitely.
Apparently so, and that's how
I don't veer, from it.
Right.
Now,
fundamental, I guess, matter, energy.
Yeah. What happened to crypto?
As far as I know, as far as there being some magical being that's fundamental,
it makes no sense.
Nah, it doesn't make
fundamental. My arse.
Clearly, not demonstrable. That's for sure.
Clearly,
it's definitely not demonstrable. So he can assert it and say that now it's true, and now you have to provide some other thing, which of course he won't even listen to anyway. So
he doesn't listen. He never listens to anything.
No. It deviates from his script, so then you're just being argumentative,
Of course.
And he's not going to put up with that.
Yes, of course.
Argumentative.
Okay, who are we here? Dog's here. Hey, Dog.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, that's cool.
We're just halfway.
Can I weigh in on the Darth Dawkins thing?
Yeah. Did you guys want to watch the rest of this video, or do you want to just carry on and weigh in right now?
Well, if he wants to say something, yeah.
If you ever watch Darth Dawkins debate, he runs off a script.
Correct.
Or a couple of scripts, which always ends up with him. He is clever, but it'll always end up with him on top. So you got to watch out for his little pit bulls and know when he's when he's talking just nonsense and pull him up on it. But he'll always try and lead you round back to his script. You need to get him off his script, where then he hasn't got a leg to stand on. You should watch his debates.
Are you kidding me? I watch it all the time.
Well, we are.
We're Darth Dawkins experts. We have PhD in Darth Dawkins, both of us.
We're watching one right now. This one is good. Mark really doesn't let him get away with this stuff. Not at all. From the beginning, towards the beginning, it's pretty interesting because I don't think Mark knows Darth to begin with, but he's onto him right away, kind of like Shannon Q was. I don't think he realized he might have known a little bit about him, but
okay. Well, one of Darth's subjects that has been hypnotized by Darth, Jesus is Lord, is here to watch the rest of this video. It's only another 4 minutes to go.
Why doesn't Jill come in?
Jill's, I don't know. He will come in. He has come in, and hopefully he will.
He's afraid.
No. I wouldn't say he's afraid because he only says that we're afraid once I close it. Once I close it, he says, you close it because you're afraid of me. But it's open now. So he might come in because I think Jill's Jesus Lord is a good sport. But let's hear the rest of what Mark Drysdale and Darth Dawkins bicker about, and then Dog, let's hear some more from you. So let's, in the meantime, let's go for that. Let's just carry on with this guy.
That you claim. What is it? You want to assert that there's no God. God is defined as what is fundamental and ultimate. You do not believe
this is a problem.
Which is fundamental and ultimate.
This is a problem. God is defined as what is fundamental and ultimate. That is such a bullshit statement. Firstly, who defines him? And if God is defined that way just by Gary Milne, then so fucking what? I'm sorry. I was muted for the room. Who defines? I'll just repeat it. Who defines? How can Gary define that? Say that God is defined as what is ultimate? Listen to what he just said.
You want to assert that there's no God. God is defined as what is fundamental and ultimate. You do.
God is defined as what is fundamental and ultimate. How? God is defined what is fundamental and ultimate. How dare he make that claim? No one else has made that claim. No one else agrees with that claim. So how can he make that claim?
But he has every right to make the claim.
Yeah, but when he comes into a room, when he comes into a debate room, he comes into a debate room debating this God thing. He goes and defines God as something fundamental and ultimate, whereas we know that something ultimate and fundamental is a nonsense concept.
Yeah, well, it's just Gary's way of saying, well, I'm asserting this is true. You're not allowed to argue against it now.
Yeah, there's no ways I can lose this argument is basically what he's saying. So let's
right.
Give me 4 minutes and I'll shut up too.
He's so low in this too, it's frustrating.
Do not believe that which is fundamental and ultimate is a personal being, God. In order for you to say that there is no God that is fundamental and ultimate, you're going to need to know what is fundamental and ultimate and that it is not personal and not God. But you have not answered that question the whole time. So you are making an empty claim that there's no God. And then you keep on falling back that you are personally unconvinced, that you don't see God. It doesn't follow from the fact that you are unpersuaded or unconvinced that what is fundamental and ultimate is not a personal creator being. So the reason why you have refused steadfastly not to answer the question is because you cannot answer the question. And in your failure to identify what is fundamental and ultimate, then you are not in a position to say there's no God. Now, I want to know from you is, how did you determine that all facts do not necessitate referencing God? The only way that you can defend that statement is to tell us what is fundamental and ultimate and the source of all facts. What is the fundamental source and ultimate of all facts, Mark? What I'm saying to you is this, is that when you reject that all facts necessitate referencing God, because without God, okay, they wouldn't be facts because it would be shrouded in mystery. Are all the facts that you believe in, Mark? May I finish, please? You know what? I've been very circumspect not to interrupt you. All right. Now, are all the so-called facts that you believe in, are they shrouded in ultimate mystery, or do you know what is ultimate and fundamental, Mark?
I know what is my reality. Put it that way, and you know what is your reality. And you're sitting there. You're sitting here arguing that because my reality doesn't line up perfect with yours, and that I believe different facts and a different way of looking, that I just don't understand. And our reality, the people who do not believe in God, our reality is flawed because we can't answer your philosophical question.
You want to assert that there's no God, but you don't want to defend the rationale of how it is there is no God. If somebody says A is false, the only way that you can defend that A is false is by defending not A. You have said that the existence of God is false. God is defined as what is fundamental and ultimate, the source of all possibility. You've stated that that does not exist. That presupposes then that you know what is fundamental and ultimate and that it's not God in order to rationally say God is not ultimate. Now, I'll ask you again. What is it that is fundamental and ultimate that is not God that you will use as a rationale to say there's no God? What is ultimate and fundamental that's not God, Mark? Answer that.
Yeah, we don't need to answer what is ultimate and fundamental about anything that somebody can dream up. We don't need to do that. Why do we need to answer your question at all?
Yep. That makes sense. He's very disingenuous, very dishonest.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all they have is philosophy to try and...
Yeah. See, you know what, when he said, I tell you what I have a problem, and how these Christians are so slippery and slimy, is he's saying that God, God is true or God is false. Those are his two choices. God is true or God is false. However, he seems to not take into account God doesn't exist. So nothing that exists is either true or false. So to say that God is true and God is false is a nonsensical comparison or nonsensical bullying.
Well, also
Yeah.
what he does too is he slides in a little trick that says, well, either God is the cause of this or God is not the cause of this. So in both cases, he's still asserting, well, the God exists. You're just saying it's not the cause of all fundamental whatever. So it's asserting that, you know, either the magical unicorn is to account for this or the magical unicorn is not to account for this.
Yeah.
He's asserting it in both sides, which is pretty dishonest, you know.
Oh, he's the king. He's the king of dishonesty.
It's a simple question with a binary answer. It's either yes or no. And philosophy doesn't belong there. Does he exist or doesn't he? Obviously, the burden of proof is on the claimant.
Sure.
I'm not saying God doesn't exist.
I am.
Skirting around the burden of proof,
provide the evidence, and
I'm saying God is impossible. That's why there is no evidence to provide.
That's what I'd say too. I don't see how
absolutely.
God is possible.
Yeah.
Well, Arthur C. Clarke said that magic is science we don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because that's imaginary. You don't understand the science of the imagination to produce the kind of fiction that humanity has produced over the ages. Because some of it is pure genius.
Well, I take God as nonchalantly as Santa, the Easter Bunny, astrology, colonic irrigation, all that woo nonsense.
I know, but it's the God thing that people revere, that people put up on a pedestal, not Santa and not the Easter Bunny. That's what bothers me the most.
Counts for all probabilities and all.
Yeah,
things.
what is that crap?
Oh, come on. Yeah. Okay.
Yet they shoehorned Jesus' birthday to coincide with Santa, or Christmas anyway. Well, they actually named it Christmas from the pagan festival Saturnalia, obviously, but I believe Jesus was born in the summertime.
No, really?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, maybe because the manger would have been pretty cold in the wintertime.
If he exists, I mean, you've got to look at the virgin birth and that. And if
you see, I had an argument with the virgin birth when somebody said to me, it's possible for a virgin to get married, and he went into a whole bunch of reasons why. And to tell you the truth, I do agree. It's very possible for a virgin to get married. That is why I do not refer to it as the virgin birth. I refer to it as the Immaculate Conception. Because you can't get that wrong.
Oh, no. The Immaculate Conception in Catholicism is something totally different.
Well, I'm not talking about Catholicism. I'm talking about how Jesus was conceived.
No, the Immaculate Conception refers to Mary, and when she was conceived in the womb, and she was blessed to be the future mother of the Son of God.
Exactly. She wasn't
If it was a virgin birth, then Jesus is obviously transsexual. He only has female genes in him, and that's probably why he liked washing feet, which was the women's job back then. But he loved to wash feet.
Oh dear.
Genetically, it really doesn't wash with what we know today. It's
absolutely.
Neither does Adam and Eve or any of the rest of it, because two animals, Adam and Eve, or the two animals on the ark, it couldn't produce the variety of species that we see today. Can't happen. So,
well, with the measurements of the ark and the amount of animals that had to go on there, 7 unclean animals, so your pigs and whatnot, and 2 every other animal, then they would have literally had I think it was 6.3 millimeters to roam about in.
Oh, sure. Even Ken Ham's mock-up of a ship is, not even small enough, not even big enough to carry all of the reptile species in the world. Come on.
Well, ironically, he claimed not last year, the year before, he claimed on his insurance for flood damage for the Ark encounter, didn't he?
Flood.
Yes, I heard about that.
Flood. How could that be?
There's a Ark mock-up in moored in the UK, not far from me actually. Moored in the UK at the moment. It's in dock, and the authorities won't let it go out to sea because it's not seaworthy.
Go over on YouTube to Darwin's Greatest Hits. Yeah, go to Darwin's Greatest Hits.
Yeah, let's do this. I believe it's EF. Repeat caller. Potential fan favorite.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you doing today? You're on with me, Jamie, and Thomas Westbrook. Sorry, that was
Thomas.
bad. Unintentional.
Well, you guys requested that I call back. So
Yeah.
Now, Thomas, you were talking earlier about evidence. What I'd like to know from you is, how is the concept of evidence viable and meaningful in your worldview? Is there a fundamental absolute to existence that provides for causal relations? Because 2 weeks ago, Jamie said he rejected the idea that there's anything fundamentally absolute. So do you reject that there's anything fundamentally absolute? And if not...
Wow, sorry about that. I didn't really mean to kick that in. I just couldn't stop it once it started because everything was moving so slowly. So it took 1 minute and 7 seconds for me to finally hit the button to get it to pause. So sorry about that.
Well, there is something fundamentally absolute.
Matter,
energy.
That's the predicted heat death of the of the universe.
That's not absolute.
Which is estimated at about 1 trillion years. It's estimated at.
Yeah, but it's not an absolute death of everything. It's not the death of matter, of energy.
Yeah, the matter will just...
Oh no! The matter is obviously the energy itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not it's not the death of energy.
The heat death will.
Yeah.
The stars will disappear.
I understand that, but it's not the death of energy. It will continue in whatever form.
Yeah, and as far as we know, it's like at that point everything may collapse back in on itself, and then you might have another big bang, whatever. At some point, who knows how it works, but
either way, whatever happens, something will emerge that will be the energy. The energy will emerge as something somewhere, somehow.
In some way.
Yeah. In some way. Yeah.
Well, that's right. You can't create or destroy
you can't
energy.
quite exactly. So there's no necessity for a creator, such as the Christian God or any God, because energy is already there. No need to create it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Jesus, you had one job which you didn't need. You are unemployed.
Yeah, I believe eventually there'll be trillions of black holes, and they will all converge into one supermassive black hole, and obviously that'll go smaller, and obviously that'll spew out its nonsense again, and we'll start all over again.
I have an idea for a different type of a conference. Remember the Nicene conference? I have an idea for a different one. Okay, so the one I suggest is one where the Jews and the Muslims, the leaders, get together and decide what to do about Christianity. about the next step.
Well,
In fact,
Catholicism
hold on a
is-
second.
is
Well,
the
the thing
one.
is, they need to decide whether to excommunicate Jesus out of the Abrahamic, the Abrahamic trio, the Abrahamic, the threesome. Christianity doesn't fit in at all to the Abrahamic tradition of Judaism and Islam. Christianity is like a sore thumb, like a black sheep. Doesn't belong. It's causing problems. And the Jews and Muslims need to decide whether or not they really want Christianity to be sort of on a level, on a par with them, or should it be demoted to something lower? I think it should be. What do you think?
No, it gave
Well-
us some good movies anyway. Got Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments and all that.
Yeah.
Some
So
cool movies.
okay. Well,
What's
I don't
that?
want to watch a movie. I want to watch. I want to
No.
watch Darth Dawkins on
No,
Talk
no.
Heathen.
No. I'm saying that at least out of the Bible story, we got a couple of good movies out of it. Got Ben-Hur, got the Ten Commandments. You know, the movies. They were neat.
I actually haven't
Kinda
seen
cool
either
movies.
of those, so I don't know.
Ben-Hur, even the.
No, I haven't even seen that one.
Oh, Ben-Hur's a cool movie. Jesus makes an appearance. That's about the only thing that he gives Ben-Hur some water. So
Ben-Hur, Jesus.
Daddy could.
I thought Ben-Hur
Daddy
was
could-
before the time of Jesus.
Well, in that movie, he definitely sees Jesus, and you know, my thought about that is he gives him a little ladle of water. It's like it's too bad he couldn't free him from frickin' slavery, which he was in. Dude, that would have been good.
Yep. So I want to. I just wanted to go through this or play this clip here of when Darth Dawkins takes on these two guys at Talk Heathen,
Yeah.
and also it looks to me like Doug from Pine Creek Doug. He's in there as well. It's again 5 minutes.
What is the absolute that provides for the viability of evidence or causal relations?
What do you mean by when you say something that's fundamentally absolute?
Well, it's something that is unconditionally non-dependent and provides for all dependency situations. So if you believe in evidence, you believe that there are causal relations and connections between events. What secures that there are causal relations between events? Is it something fundamentally absolute, or do you believe that by faith?
Okay, when you were talking about something that you said was non-dependent, what do you mean?
Yeah, something is absolute if it is fundamentally it exists, and it doesn't begin to exist, and it's non-dependent. In other words, it's not contingent.
Okay. So you're saying, do I believe that there is something that exists now that never started to exist?
Well, what I'm asking you is, since you're asserting that evidence is a viable concept in your atheistic outlook, evidence entails causal relations and connections between events. What ultimately and foundationally in your model of reality secures that?
It seems that God could not have created anything without causation. God couldn't have created causation because he would have needed causation to exist in order to have done so. Create is a causal notion, as we saw when we looked at the social construction issue. So there must be causation for God to create anything. It follows that he cannot create causation itself.
See, when you appeal to your sense perception to justify laws of nature, you have to presuppose laws of nature for the meaningfulness of eyesight. Are you aware that's begging the question?
Here's the dilemma EF wants to put you in. In justifying the existence of causal relations, if you use anything that involves a causal relation, like sense perception, then he charges you with begging the question. The only other option is to use something that does not involve a causal relation, in which case you arrived at your conclusion by chance, which is also unacceptable. EF thinks God revealed to us that there are causal relations. But doesn't revelation involve causal relations too? Isn't F also begging the question by his own criteria? EF says circular reasoning is acceptable when it comes to your ultimate foundation. In that case, how could F complain if the atheist took causation as his ultimate foundation? Alexander Pruss writes, if one insists that knowledge in each domain must have some causal cases, some cases where the object of knowledge causes the knowing, then one will be pleased at the fact that causal powers are the sort of thing that can sometimes be known causally. A causal power can cause us to know of it. What better way is there to know an object than to be in a causal relation with that object? Some philosophers think you can experience causation. John Searle writes, I think Hume was looking in the wrong place. He was looking in the detached way at objects and events outside of him, and he discovered that there was no necessary connection between them. But if you think about the character of your actual experiences, it seems to me quite common that you experience yourself making something happen, that is an intentional action, or you experience something making something happen to you, that is a perception. In both cases it is quite common to experience the causal connection. Elizabeth Anscombe, in Lectures, gave a good example of this. Suppose I am sitting here at my desk and a car backfires outside and it makes me jump. In this case I actually experience my involuntary movement as caused by the loud noise I heard. I do not have to wait for the conjunction of resembling instances. In this case I actually experience the causal nexus as part of my sequence of conscious experiences.
Contrary to how I am depicted on Darwin's Greatest Hits, I'm a wee bit smarter than that, aren't I?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, I disagree. I think Darth Dawkins is very clever. He's a good manipulator.
You think?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's.
He's good at leading an argument. You need to stamp him out quickly.
Okay, I'll give you.
And take heed of his nonsense and pull him up on it.
I'll give you a better example of how nonsensical he is. All of that. Stop and share.
I was gonna say, if you wanted to play a fun one, you can play the one with the black guy down there, the King Atheist.
I got a better one. This one.
That's a really good one. He tears up Darth.
Oh, okay. I think I figured out how to. Stop it right away. So this one here is with Doug. Pine Creek Doug is a very smart fellow. And I would suggest we give this one a listen to for a second. We'll get back to David. We'll get back to the one you suggest in a second, okay? If this doesn't go well, specifically, the sooner we'll get back to your suggestion if this doesn't go well, sooner rather than later.
Oh, this one's good too.
Go over to on YouTube to Darwin's Greatest Hits. Yeah, go to Darwin's Greatest Hits.
But like I try to keep reminding people who use these arguments, look, you didn't have a clue about any of this stuff when you first believed.
Yeah.
Did you know about Reformed epistemology when you became a Christian? No. Did you know about presuppositional apologetics when you became a Christian? No. Why is it a big deal now? It's a big deal now because I think my theory is it's a way to justify believing things that are really hard to believe. And it's kind of like a hedge of protection around their beliefs.
Yeah. We just had somebody join us, Evolution False. Welcome to the Hangout.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, Doug, I mean, everybody has core beliefs about the nature of reality that they resist falsification. So that's simply not true merely of Christians. That's true of people who have all worldviews, isn't it, Doug?
Hi, Darwin. How are you?
I am doing fine. Isn't it true that people have core beliefs as to the nature of reality and they resist falsification?
Say that again.
Isn't it true that everyone has core beliefs from which they interpret reality and that they resist falsification of those core beliefs?
Are you talking about presuppositions?
Yeah, you can call them presupposition, call them core beliefs, but that would be true of any worldview, right?
Yeah, I have presuppositions. What are yours?
Yeah. What is my presupposition? That the Christian God has revealed himself in time and space, ultimately through Jesus Christ.
Could you be wrong on that presupposition?
No.
I can't be wrong about mine either then.
Okay, well, how would you know that you can't be wrong about that?
How would you know that you couldn't be wrong about yours?
Because God has revealed that. His revelation does not fail to achieve its purposes.
Well, evolution has revealed it to me.
Well, does evolution require for its meaningfulness that there be laws of physics, chemistry, and biology?
Yes.
Are there laws of nature?
Yes, that we have signed to it, yeah.
How do you know there are laws of nature?
I presuppose it.
Of what is called the uniformity of nature, or that nature operates according to some prescriptive laws.
Do you believe in the uniformity of nature?
Yeah, God has revealed that he has created an orderly and regular universe. Now, you have asserted that your presupposition, I answered your question.
Darwin, do you believe in miracles?
Yeah, I'll address miracles momentarily, but I'd like to finish.
If you believe in miracles, you don't believe in uniformity of nature.
Doug, okay, well, I would dispute that dichotomy.
Greg Bartson writes, even though God may occasionally override natural law through miraculous intervention in limited individual cases, these are rare exceptions to the overwhelmingly universal operation of natural law. If there were no uniformity, there could be no miracles, in that all would be surprisingly wondrous and unpredictable. Even Bartson is saying that there are rare exceptions. Overwhelmingly universal is not the same as absolutely universal. But more to the point, if God performs miracles, then the future doesn't resemble the past, and our scientific predictions will fail. DD can only say that nature is uniform most of the time and not all of the time.
No, I'm asking you, when you adopt the uniformity of nature,
you know what, Dart?
Without any reference to anyone else.
I just had an epiphany. I think I could be wrong about everything.
Okay.
You could be right. I should take on your worldview. Help me with that.
Okay, Doug. Now, you told me you presuppose the uniformity of nature as a properly basic belief. Is it self-evident to your senses?
Darth, can we talk about Jesus? I want to take on your worldview.
Yeah, we can talk. We can talk about Jesus momentarily. Is the uniformity of nature self-evident to your senses?
Here you have it's asking you, a Christian, to talk about Jesus, and you don't want to?
No, because they're deflecting.
Yeah,
Doug,
you're being Doug. You're being evasive.
Listen,
Doug. Now,
hey, Dart,
your presuppositions, are they a product? Are they derivative? Are your presuppositions regarding the uniformity
can we talk about
of nature,
Jesus?
are they a product? Are they
Christian,
derivative of your reason?
Darth, are you a Christian?
I asked you a question. I'll be glad to answer your personal questions momentarily, Doug.
No, I don't.
I understand your evasiveness, Doug.
No,
Doug, you can smile and smirk all you want. I asked you a question. Are your presuppositions?
I'm wrong about everything, Darth. I'm asking for your help.
Now you're being sarcastic. Now I'm asking you a legitimate philosophical question, and you're trying to be cute.
Teach me, Darth. How do I accept your worldview?
Are your presuppositions? Are your presuppositions? No, that would be circular, Doug.
Okay, it's circular. Now help me understand your worldview.
Yeah. So in other words, are you
a Christian, Darth?
Are you? I'll answer in a second. Are you conceding?
That was a minute ago.
That
you said that.
Are you conceding that your advocacy, that your human reason is the ultimate authority? Are you conceding that is circular?
Well, it's just not mine. It's all of humankind.
Is your reasoning circular?
My reasoning is based on my presuppositions.
Is your reasoning that your reason is the ultimate authority? Is that circular?
Sure, I'll say sure. Now help me understand your worldview.
Okay. So your reasoning then is not exhaustive of all facts, right?
Now let me. Sure, you can have everything. I'm just.
So you don't have So you do not have exhaustive knowledge. Therefore, your interpretations, which are derivative of your reasonings, they're not infallible.
Correct. Now, can we talk about your worldview?
So when you reason that you're the final authority, that's not necessarily true because you don't have exhaustive knowledge.
I didn't say I was the final authority. I said my.
No, you told me that your reason. No, you told me your reason, which produces your presuppositions, is the ultimate authority.
So, can we talk about your worldview now?
Yeah, we can momentarily because I just want to get to this final point. Is your reasoning, since your reasoning is the ultimate authority, but you don't have exhaustive knowledge, that means that your reasoning is fallible, right?
My presupposition.
Is your reason fallible or infallible?
Are you a human being? Can you understand what I'm saying?
I think I am. The last time I checked, I'm not a Martian from Men in Black. So, Doug, is your reasoning fallible or infallible?
It is fallible. I could be wrong. Yes.
Okay, good. So you, being that you're the ultimate authority, is just simply conjecture.
Oh yes, conjecture.
Good. Therefore, any affirmation that you make ultimately rests upon you conjecturing.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Now, can we talk about your worldview?
Sure.
Are you a Christian?
Just remember, any affirmation, I'll answer any of your following questions, but any affirmation you make, you have conceded, and I will remind you that any affirmation you make is the product of conjecture.
That's fine. I won't make any claims. How's that?
Okay. I just want to make sure that that's what you said.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. Good.
So tell me, are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
How many years?
Oh, gee, a very long time. Many years. Several decades.
So how old were you when you became a Christian?
Late teens, early 20s.
Okay, so when you were in your late teens, early 20s, did you know about the stuff you're talking about now?
In an extremely rudimentary sense.
So the day or the time period you became a Christian, what was going on in your life at the time? Like, what made you become a Christian?
I picked up my Bible and I started reading it.
Okay, and what about the Bible made you become a Christian?
I read the revelation of God and I accepted it.
How did you determine that was the revelation of God?
By reading the Bible.
Can I ask a quick question?
Just hang on, George. He's been like pounding me with questions for a long time, and now he's finally letting me ask questions.
We'll finish the timer, and then I'll have a question.
Okay. So you became a Christian in your late teens. You read the Bible, and did you say that you, at that point in your life, determined that it was indeed the word of a God?
I'm not the one who verifies that things are the case. Only God can do that. I can only accept that which he reveals.
DD says he accepts God's revelation, but what does acceptance amount to? Is he not using any reasoning at all in accepting revelation? Is he a mindless zombie? Presuppositionalists reject autonomous reasoning. Philosopher Kelly James Clark writes, "Let us return to our question. Is autonomous human reasoning a bad thing? If it's a bad thing, it is all the worse for us, because it is all we have." Although people often oppose revelation to reason and suggest that revelation is superior, there can be in the end, no real opposition. Here is the problem. Each person must decide, tacitly or explicitly, that a purported revelation is revelation. Each person must decide that what is being said in some particular holy writ is the voice of God. Each person must decide what is being said and then what it means. And each person must decide what it means today that God said something a long time ago. At every level, human reason is operative. Unless the Holy Spirit totally overwhelms a person, human reason, of the autonomous variety, is still operative. We can seek to bring our minds into conformity with God's will, but we have to decide which God, and what is His will. We decide. Frame says, to claim neutrality is to claim that I am the one who ultimately decides what is true or false. But surely, I am the one who decides what is true or false. Who else could do that for me? Of course, our deciding does not make something true or false. That is not my point. My point is that each of us must make decisions using our best judgment about what is true and false. I don't see any other way around it. We have no other faculty than reason, in the broad sense, to come to our best judgment of which God to follow, or not, and what it means to follow that God. I suspect that some presuppositionalists believe that Scripture is so clear that submission to God's truths does not involve any imposition of human reason. But the tremendous diversity of Christian interpretations of Scripture suggests otherwise. Every take on Scripture is interpretation, and interpretation is a function, at least partly, of autonomous human reason. We may damn reason in some of its restrictive forms, but it is the best, and only tool, that intellectually free human beings have, to discover the truth.
I asked you, do you know what the ultimate nature of reality is that provides you with the ability to reason?
Okay, well, we really need to cut this at this point.
No, I don't know what it is. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, good. Then why do you believe it?
Well, that was cool.
I believe that it was just revealed to me that I needed to eject him because he simply wanted to keep talking.
No. The problem is that why I started playing guitar in my corner and didn't even participate. It's because we don't need to justify. We are not sure of everything.
I've talked to a lot of precepts, and a lot of them I can have good conversations with. But Darth is a certain. He's a troll. He's basically not a good precept to talk to because he's not interested in. I really don't even think he cares about my salvation. Darth, if you're listening, do you really care about me? Like, do you really want me to believe what you believe, or do you just?
If he did, the moment you asked him to tell you about Jesus, he would have changed direction.
Yeah, this is why I always do it when you're on talking to a precept and they start talking about this presupposition type shtick. Go immediately to Jesus. And every Christian out there listening, watching it unfold, if they see the precept says, well, okay, we'll talk about Jesus in a second, but let me first say this. That is a red flag to every Christian watching. And Darth, you know this if you're listening to this replay. You know there's Christians watching, and you just dissed Jesus in front of an atheist. You said, no, we'll talk about Jesus later. I want to get this precept stuff out first.
Whatever he likes in Jesus is what he values, right? I want to know what his values are.
But he won't answer, and I'll tell you why. Because the problem with the precepts is they... I think, I forget the quote exactly. I'll try to find it. But Cy ten Bruggencate, he said that he didn't care about convincing others. They only care about preaching and condemning.
Your job is not to change the heart of the unbeliever. Only the Holy Spirit can do that. Your job is to shut his or her mouth.
Show me the quotation, the source, where William Lane Craig trashes the Van Tillian transcendental argument for the existence of God or presuppositionalism. Show it to me. You don't have a source of William Lane Craig trashing presuppositionalism. If you do, produce the source, clown.
No, the conversion will come only through repentance, not through intellectual reasoning.
Present evidence and arguments in the hope that the Holy Spirit would use them to open the heart of the unbeliever and lead him to repent. I think it's actually unloving and uncaring to withhold good evidence from an unbeliever and just command him to repent without giving him any good reason to, especially if those reasons exist. Why would you withhold them?
Okay, so we're back to the everyone believes in God, and I'm just going to somehow beat it out of you.
Yeah, I wonder whether this Ten Bruggencate really believes in presuppositional apologetics or whether he just believes in preaching. Everything he said so far to me just sounds like an abandonment of the apologetics project, that you just preach.
They only care about preaching and condemning.
That's
to
what
the
he does.
unbeliever. You just declare this is the truth, and that's fine for preaching, but that's not apologetics. If the minute you construe this as some sort of argument, then you're arguing in a circle. You're just begging the question.
Do you reject all circular reasoning?
You're saying God exists, therefore God exists, which is not glorifying to God. That's just bad reasoning.
No.
So I just find these arguments that he's giving to be utterly unpersuasive.
They get into certainty a little bit later in the debate, and Ten Bruggencate again brings you up that in response to Krauss, he said, "Are you certain that God exists?" And you said, "No." He said that we should have absolute certainty. And Eric Hernandez says, "Look, if you were to talk to Dr. Craig about that, he would explain to you what he means. Let's leave him out of that and get back to the debate." But do you want to talk a little bit about certainty, and when it comes to certainty doing apologetics, like with Krauss on stage?
Right. Well, certainty, I think, is a will-o'-the-wisp that is quite irrelevant to faith in Christ. It's not necessary in order to have faith in Christ. Jesus accepted the man who came to him and said, "Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief." Certainly, rational arguments and evidence are not going to deliver certainty. What they will deliver is a degree of probability so that the rational man will follow the evidence where it leads and believe in God. And I see absolutely no reason to think, Kevin, that simply preaching the gospel is going to lead to a greater degree of certainty than that. In fact, you and I know that the testimony of young people raised in Bible-preaching churches is often that they're ridden with doubts, because though they've heard the Word of God preached, they have doubts about it, and they don't know how to answer them, and there's no one to answer their questions.
Please don't ask me about my worldview.
And so I don't see any reason to think that the presuppositional approach delivers greater certainty or psychological confidence in the truth of the gospel than the arguments and evidence do. In fact, on the contrary, I think sometimes it could actually lead to grave doubts about the truth of the Christian faith. When we want to show someone that it's true, then if you're to avoid begging the question and reasoning in a circle, then you have to use good arguments and evidence that will appeal to commonly accepted truths that you and the unbeliever share.
Maybe you might want to consider going back to heroin to put us out of our misery.
Yeah, my advice, my final advice, when dealing with the precept is go immediately to Jesus.
That's a good idea.
And if they resist, they look like dorks within their worldview. And ask them how can they believe like they believe. And they'll stumble with that too, because they know that only their God can fill you with the Holy Spirit to believe like they do. So go Jesus and regeneration, those ideas and concepts, and they really like.
Well, that was Darth Dawkins just reading his script.
Yeah, we're back. Wow. It's
just the same old nonsense.
Yep. See, Pine Creek Doug is incredible.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Crypto. I believe that's you. Yeah.
Hi, Crypto. How are you?
Happy Canada Day.
Actually, I just want to bring in the chat there, because Jesus is Lord actually said something. He's back. He said WLC is the man. In other words, William Lane Craig is the man. Well,
Darth disagrees.
Well, Darth disagrees. However, we just saw William Lane Craig dispute, or should I say, debunk presuppositionalism.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's a little different. Darth says that there's absolutes. Those guys don't agree with that.
Yeah, so Jesus is Lord, my friend. Why don't you join us for a cup of tea and a scone?
Well, Christianity is nothing more than a hypocritical hate cult, as far as I'm concerned. I'll tell you why it's hypocritical.
At the very least, that's what it is. It's way more dangerous than that.
I'll tell you why it's hypocritical.
Yeah, let's hear
it. They say, in the Old Testament, in Exodus, of the commandments, one of them is do not worship effigy. And all they can do is worship the effigy of Jesus on faith. And you can critique that book without even reading it, because the book of Job was written about 75 to 80 years before Genesis. So you don't even have to read it to know it's all made up. But obviously these people, and the likes of your Ken Hovind, your Ken Ham, and your Robert Tilton, and you Kenneth Copeland, them televangelists and them people, there's a lot of money in it for them, and they know that they are just basically lying.
Of course they do. Yeah, that's why they do it. Everybody does something for. Got to do something for a living. Everybody does something for a reason, right? And that's what they do.
Oh, absolutely. Have you ever read the Bigelow Report?
No, never heard of it. What is that?
This was a report written about just after World War II, showing how Catholicism was involved with Hitler.
Oh, fuck, really?
And Catholics hate the Jews.
Oh,
they always have done.
I know
they hate the Muslims. They started all the holy wars back in the day.
Catholics hate the Protestants. I mean, the Christian Catholics hate the Christian Protestants.
Well, they hate anyone who doesn't follow the Trinity and their way of being. It shows their involvement in advising Mussolini. Nazi gold that is in the vaults of the Vatican, and millions of Swiss francs that was seized by the Germans on the Swiss border. All in it's called the Bigelow Report. It's a good read, actually, and it's all in the Vatican vaults.
I expect a short summary after your lengthy time of all the time spent by you reading it and absorbing everything it says. So, could you bring up the major points that you read in the Bigelow Report and summarize them for us?
Well, I just have. They hold in Nazi gold and illegal Swiss francs in their vaults. Their involvement in the Holocaust, and obviously the Catholics, they embrace poverty and they embrace war and they embrace downfalls of countries and things like that, just so they can get in there and get their claws in. Vatican is one of the only countries, one of very few countries that have never been in the red in debt. They're billions in the green. Yet they couldn't raise 26 million for their Catholic schools. I mean, they could have subbed the rest
what
of
about
that.
Africa? They could feed Africa.
Well, I said,
Could
well,
they
that was.
not?
This is. I said this about Desmond Tutu. He famously said, "We had the land. Then the missionaries came with their Bibles. We closed our eyes to pray with them. Suddenly, we had the Bibles and they had the land." Which is basically what they do. They just take over and they corrupt and poison everything. And you know, the way they treat children and especially the Catholics with their non-usage of condoms and things like that could save thousands of lives. You know, these kids being born with AIDS and things like that, all because they won't allow condoms.
That's Catholicism today, isn't it? That's exactly what they do today.
That's today, and today in Africa, the Catholics are killing gay people. Obviously, Islam. They especially in the Islamic states, they behead publicly blasphemers and gays and chop off hands, and it's barbaric. They in the Iran and places like that, they have stayed with biblical punishments. I'm sure Christianity would love to be able to do that, but they've moved too far into secular society that they can't, and they just. My pinned tweet was a phrase I coined last year, which is religions don't pray for the vulnerable, they prey on them. Just a simple play on words.
Most Epic wants to know who made that quote that you originally, the first quote that you made, that we all said, yeah, what a good quote.
Which one was that?
The first one, the previous one.
Oh, that was Desmond Tutu.
Oh, about the Bibles? Yes. Okay, I think that's what he was referring to, right? Most Epic? I don't know.
I've only made 3 quotes. My own quote, Desmond Tutu, and the Arthur C. Clarke.
Maybe it was your own quote. What was that?
Religions don't pray for the vulnerable, they prey on them.
Yeah, that was the last one. And what was the Arthur C. Clarke one?
Oh, that was magic is science we don't understand.
Yeah, then it was the first one I referred to.
And that's true too. You know, a lot of the magic in the old magic acts in the 1800s or early 1900s were literally, electricity and stuff like this. People didn't really even know what it was. And those guys could use it and manipulate it a bit.
Did you know that in North America, or in the United States, when electricity was being sort of introduced, that the Catholic Church was against it because it was demonic? Did you know that?
Sure.
I mean, literally, like, it's a joke that they still have a position that this Pope is revered in any fucking stupid way. I mean, he's a clown. He's like a classic clown in a dress, and he's revered somehow, for some reason.
People will go crazy to, see the Pope or touch the Pope or something. People go crazy over that.
That's creepy. That's absolutely creepy. You've got to figure, why the hell would they? What are they getting out of it? What possibly are they getting out of it?
It reminds me. I had a friend when I was younger. He was a Catholic, and his dad or his grandfather had this thing on the wall, and it was a signed letter, from the Pope, And this was the most prized possession of the entire thing. And I think the guy sent him $200 at the time, and the Pope gave him a little signed letter thing, you know. But oh man, that thing was in a separate room. You weren't even allowed to touch it. Probably shouldn't even go into the room at all. But this was this, you know, holy object, little letter with the Pope's signature on it. It's ridiculous.
Nah.
Well, I was expelled from my Catholic school. I was beaten by priests and nuns and humiliated.
For what?
All for questioning dogma. Yeah, that's and not just dogma, actual canonized dogma.
Oh, I'd love to hear that story. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was kicked. I was born into a deeply religious. My parents were fundamentalist Catholics. So I went to Catholic school, and obviously a lot of it didn't make sense to me, and I was questioning, you know, the ark. How can he fit all that? Just stuff like that, and all these stories. Partners see, how does that happen? I was just inquisitive, but you don't question stuff like that. So I was forever getting sent to the headmaster, and I remember one day I was in the fetal position, but he didn't sexually abuse me, he physically abused me. He was literally kicking me while I was in the fetal position on his floor in his office.
What a cunt.
But I was caned by nuns.
Catholics, right?
Yeah, these were the
Catholic.
These were the 70s.
I don't care. Same Catholics.
And these were when Catholic. These were the days when I don't know if you've ever seen that film, the Magdalene Sisters.
I haven't. So,
well, it's an Irish laundry, and they took in.
All right, now you triggered a memory.
I know this one. Yeah, I've seen this.
Hey, Crypta.
Hello. I'm doing paperwork. I'm here, but I'll be here soon.
It's okay. I'm interested. This is a great story. Go ahead,
Well,
dog.
the Magdalene Sisters, they had this laundry, and they took in orphan girls and disowned young girls, and basically abused them, humiliated them, worked them to death. They were treated like slaves, basically. Yeah. They were beaten. They were sexually assaulted by the priests, etc., etc. And when that was closed down, the grounds, when the grounds was, they found 155 bodies in the grounds, in shallow graves that they killed and just buried. But this is when
how many? 155, you said?
Over 100. I think it was 150. It was over 150.
And in the whole of the country, how many have they found in total?
Oh, I don't know. This was just on the grounds of this.
Oh, the one. Okay, let me tell you something. Here in Canada, just in my province, they found 2 sites with about 1,000 children's graves, unmarked. That's 2 out of, I don't know, 1,400 residential schools, let's say, throughout the country. Approximately 500 kids per school, on average, buried in the ground in an unmarked grave. That's
they abuse them, they kill them, they sexually abuse them, and then they move their priests around the world out the jurisdiction.
And I'm not only talking about the Catholic Church of the world. Here in Canada, we've got the French Catholics, you've got the English Catholics, and they band together. It's the Catholic Church has got to go. There's no, there is no excuse anymore. It's done.
It is pure evil. But yeah, so I getting kicked, and then they send a letter to my parents, and I get it again when I got home. But I thought that was my life.
So your parents were beating you up as well? And at school you get beat up and humiliated, and then at home your parents
beat me up and not feed me and things like that. That was basically my life. And then I got other kids started to question as well. They started to think, oh well, he makes sense, and they started to question, and that's when they expelled me. I was a bad influence on the word of Jesus.
This is where you need an ally. You needed one of those other kids to stand up for you.
Everyone was terrified.
Yeah, I know, but so what? Where's the hero? Come on.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know
it's fantasy.
Terrified. I was terrified myself, but
why did they pick on?
No answers.
Exactly. So do you remember kind of what sort of questions you asked?
Yeah, I was just asking the viability of Adam and Eve and that, and there was pictures of them, and I'd say, well, why has one got a penis and one's got a vagina, and why have they got belly buttons and one's got breasts and one's got a
what's up with their belly buttons? Yeah,
and they got well, I didn't really understand it, but back then, but I knew it was it denotes umbilical reliance at some point in their lives. And then when Adam was banished from the garden, he met hundreds of people wandering about. Where did they come from? And things like, well,
I have an answer for that. I have an answer for that from the Bible itself, you see. Genesis 1:1, in its original, says, in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the land, the skies and the land. And the gods refer to, obviously, multiple gods. So when Genesis carries on to talk about this, the gods making, on one day it's the I don't know, one day it's the animals, and the next day it's the water, and the next, whatever it is, whatever the rest of the plan is, you got gods making all this kind of stuff, and then you got some other gods, because there's multiple, making lesser things like women. Well, there's nothing lower than a woman, because the Genesis creates everything by this super god, maybe. And the lesser gods create everything else. For example, wives for the sons of Eve. And this is never broached when actually discussing the meaning of Genesis 1. I'm going to go through the whole of Genesis 1 in its original, and then discuss it as it comes up. For the sake of Darth Dawkins, because I'd like him to join me. He's the one who made a claim that Christianity starts at Genesis 1. I'm going to go through Genesis 1 in its original, and I invite him to join me so we can both figure out where Christianity starts at Genesis 1.
Christianity starts in the New Testament.
I understand that, but you're not Darth Dawkins.
The Old Testament is based, it's the Torah.
You're not Darth Dawkins. You aren't the greatest Christian since sliced cheese. And Darth Dawkins said that Christianity starts at Genesis 1.
Yeah, well, he's wrong.
We were just discussing that a little while ago with Darth saying that, if anything, the New Testament wasn't even nearly in the form it is right now until 400 versus something clearly.
Yeah, it was first published in the first century.
Well, I have audio evidence to the contrary.
Well, yeah, it's claimed that some of these may have been written in 90 AD and all this, but there was no book of the New Testament until the a couple hundred years later.
Well, to be honest, that book has been rewritten and interpreted and manipulated so many times.
Oh yeah.
Lake of Fire, and torture chamber, hell, wasn't conceived until the King James Bible, the 1611.
Yeah, right.
Which was based on Dante's ironic poetry or comedy poetry, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
From that Italian man's poetry, from the 1320 or whatever, something like that, and it was based on that. And did you know there's 3 popes in purgatory in that book? In the 9 circles of hell, there's 3 popes in there.
Yeah.
One of them being Boniface VIII, Pope Boniface VIII, who has his own level of hell. But before that, in Scripture, hell was the Jewish word Sheol, Sheol, which is basically means grave or eternal nothingness. That was hell. No promised land, no afterlife, none of that. Just darkness for the rest of it forever, which is basically death, as we know it.
That's not nice.
Yeah.
But they constantly contradict themselves all the time. And obviously they make up all it. They make up a lot of shit and they manipulate it and interpret it in their own way. It's just fair enough. That's why there's 40-odd thousand denominations of Christianity. They all argue with each other. They all say, this is all different.
That's right. Yeah.
But as I say, in the Old Testament, there's 90 gods, other gods mentioned in it, throughout it. Plus, at the end of the day, in the first commandment, it says, thou shalt be no other gods worshipped before me, which is God himself saying there's other gods.
It sure seems to be.
And then they're basically not original sin, which was the eating from the tree of knowledge. Their moral guidance comes from them commandments, where I believe it's inherent. And it's proved in Genesis when Cain murdered Abel, and he tried to hide the body, or when they ate from the tree of knowledge and they hid from God.
Yeah.
Because they knew they'd done wrong, because the morality is inherent, and they cannot deny that. But they think morality is from the Old Testament. It's objective.
Well,
and
not
not
only
subjective.
Not only that, but and when Adam and Eve is hiding, and God comes down and he's calling for him, telling him to come out of hiding. He can't find him, so I guess that puts a little dagger in the omniscient. It clearly doesn't know everything. If a couple people can hide from him, and he doesn't know where they are, so
yeah, if he didn't want them to have sex,
and all seeing, okay.
If he didn't want him to have sex, why did he give him different genitals? Why didn't he just make him like Action Men or Barbie and Ken with smooth hair, just a hole, just to release the crap? It's all bollocks. But there's people who believe in this literally. There's some people who see it metaphorically, but you can't. We were talking to a guy the other day who said waters in the Bible means people. He said, Jesus walked on water, so he was walking on the people and whatnot. The water spread around the world. Water's washed over the world, and that was the people going around the world. But then I pointed out, in Noah, in the story of Noah, in Genesis, is literal measurements for him to build a vessel because God was going to send a flood and drown everyone. It's literally in that Bible. And then he didn't have a leg to stand on. And then he says, when in John, in the New Testament, Jesus tells his disciples to sell their robes and buy swords.
Yeah, there's huge gaps in all the mythology.
And he used that. He said swords means Bibles. We didn't have Bibles in days. So
Bibles.
you know, the first church of Christianity was the Church of Jesus Christ, and that was the first church. And before that was just rubbish. I mean, parting the sea. And the hatred in the Old Testament. That's why the Catholics sort of go towards the Jesus side of things, and but they can't dismiss the Old Testament because their moral guidance is in there. But the atrocities and the barbaricness that is in that book is phenomenally bad. I mean, that is just pure. It's God. The Ten Commandments, 7 of them is just God, me, me, me. He's just a narcissist. Another one is thought crime. And 2 of them only have any relevance, but not in today. You know, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill.
What do you think?
But then if you're protecting your family and you accidentally kill someone who broke into your house and beating your kids up or threatening your kids with a gun or whatever, and you manage to get to him first and kill him, then I think that's morally just.
What do you think about the idea of of it being very detrimental to children to expose them to religion or to God or the whole God story and the Bible stories until they're at an age of being able to reason for themselves?
Well, as I said, it's just a hate cult.
That's what I'm saying. You don't want to introduce children to hate.
Well, is it child abuse to indoctrinate children who should be out riding their bikes? You get these. I remember what was his name? Duffy Skulls, was it? And he was on Oprah, and he was preaching these. I mean, he was just shouting and preaching.
The little kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing something like that.
He should have been out riding his bike.
Yeah, I remember that.
Looking for girls at
He
his
didn't
age,
know what he was saying, though. Remember, at the very end, she caught him.
Exactly, but he's grown up now, and he's still doing it. Him and his family.
What's a business?
And
it's entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's like wrestling for people even dumber than people who support wrestling.
We had a street preacher from New York come up here, and he was run out of Victoria. Like, he literally had people, like a mob, stalking him as he was going along. Like, the whole rainbow community, everyone just like, nope, not in our city.
Yeah, not in my neighborhood. Out.
Yeah, he went up island, did like a little like baptism thing, like in the bush somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, it did not go over. It's good. It sends a message like, you are not welcome here. This is not appropriate behavior.
I got a little clip here of Darth Dawkins claiming. How do I get it to run now? Claiming his Christianity.
This has got to be an old one, heck.
Oh, it is an old one, but it's here. Oh, here it goes.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I see, what's his name? MK's in there. Shoot. I've seen him forever.
Yeah, it's from one of those old ones. But anyway, it's only I just took a snip of it because it's what's relevant. Here goes. Eventually it'll play, I'm sure. See, it's not playing. Hold on a sec. I'll try again. This could be a feature of Jitsi that is an issue. And it seems like it's lag. Well, let me just. I'm gonna just turn off my audio and.
Do you want me to jump off?
No, that's it's got nothing to do with you. Come on.
Okay.
You're like me, Sid. I'm useless to technology, mate.
Genesis 1:1 states
I
that in
only
the
get my
beginning
kids
God
to do
created the heavens
stuff like
and the
this.
earth. And what that logically necessitates then that everything that does exist that is in
Yeah, I'm sorry. I played it while you were talking. I'll go back. I will go back. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Genesis 1:1 states that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And what that logically necessitates then that everything that does exist that is independent and distinct from God has its origin and is contingent upon God. That would include all logic and reasoning. That would include the ability to actually make truth-valued statements that actually comport with reality. And it would also include any wisdom. And all of that has, as I said, its origin and it is contingent entirely upon the God of the Bible.
See? What lost shit?
See, I don't believe in creation at all in any aspect. You know,
No, of course not.
Is a painting created when the materials are already there?
Yeah.
I would say a painting is made, not
It's an
created.
idea that's put on, expressed through the canvas, just like a sculpture is an idea that's expressed through the stone.
It's conceptual. It's not. I wouldn't say it was created because
no, it wasn't
the
created.
materials, the paints, are already there. They've been mixed and they've had their hues put into them to colorize them and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, since these Christians believe that a creator had to be, there to make universes, what's the explanation for a creator? I mean, where do those come from then?
Well, that's just God of the gaps, isn't it?
I mean, so then a universe just existed. I don't see how they stop at there's this creator being that made everything, which also would mean that I guess this creator is not in the group of everything because then he'd have to make himself. So where do creators come from? They stop there because it's a good enough explanation, I guess, for them. Oh, the creator did it. What's an explanation for a creator then? Oh, well, we don't go there. Okay. All right.
That's their big choking point, their big bottleneck right there.
David did make a good point, though.
What? What's the good
about
point?
About the creator.
How does a creator just exist?
Yeah, how does he just not be? How does he come out of nothing else? Where it's impossible for energy to exist forever, infinitely. How is it possible then for this creator, non-existent thing?
And they're the ones
to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Where did he come from?
Where did he come from?
And they're the ones demanding explanations for everything. You know, how does everything explained? Well, it's by this creator. But they don't want to explain a creator, though. You know, it's just stop there. That never gets answered. You know, basically that's where you get kicked from the Christian's room. You know, how dare you ask about our creator? She'll go unquestioned. You know, okay.
Who created God?
What makes gods? Yeah. God have moms? I don't know.
See, it's reputed in original scripture that God won a wager with, I think it was Beelzebub, to become the ultimate only God. There's hundreds of gods in Jewish myth, the same as Greek, Roman, Norse, all of that. But the Christians, you know, they say, oh, there's only ever been one God, when there isn't. And the very doctrine that they peddle, as I said earlier, there's 90 gods in the Old Testament alone, or thereabout 90 gods.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. They're just full of it.
But I think they would love to be able to dismiss the Old Testament as nonsense because of the atrocities and the crap that's in it.
Many
and
Christians
just go
today, many of them today we just follow the New Testament. You know, we're Christians, so the New Testament's what applies to us, which is pretty crazy. You know, don't see how they do that. But many of them today we don't care about the Old Testament. We got the New. And this
cherry picking, and then they take the New Testament and they say, "Oh no, not this part of the New Testament."
Yeah. You end up with maybe 3 or 4 pages of the entire Bible. Actually maybe a few pages. Yeah.
Well, it's like Darth Dawkins saying nature is presuppositional, which it's not. It's unpredictable. But in that case, then, if it's that, then God creates all these hurricanes and tsunamis that kills hundreds. That tsunami over China that killed, I think, 200,000 people.
When was that?
God creates.
Cancer
and AIDS and.
What about acts of God that insurance won't even cover?
Yeah, they can't get away with that in England no more. Because people just say, "Well, I want an apology from God."
I want restitution.
Yeah, I want an apology from God in writing. If you can't produce that, then I want.
Then cough up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can't get away with that anymore. But what these people, especially like Dawkins, he's very manipulative. You got to be careful with him. He'll try and lead you back to his, as you showed in the last clip of him. He tries to lead you back to his script.
Yeah.
And then he will say, "Oh, you've conceded then because." This is how he works. And you say, no, I haven't conceded. You know, you're using theology, epistemology, and woo to try and philosophy to try and convince me that you're right when it doesn't need all that. It's a simple question: does he exist or not? You need to provide that evidence. The burden of proof is on you. That's why I don't say, I can't prove there isn't a God, because I don't want that burden of proof.
I do.
But unless then
I'm quite happy to take on the proving that there is no God. Not a problem. In fact, the fact that that energy is infinite, can be created or destroyed, disproves God right there.
Well, yeah, the lack of evidence and all they.
No, it's not the lack of evidence. Is that if energy exists infinitely, then where is the space for God? There's no space. God is nothing. And nothing exists.
Well, there's nothing
nothing can exist. Nothing. The concept of nothingness.
Demonstrated.
The concept of nothingness can never be demonstrated because it's just a absurd, irrational concept.
That's right. But atheists believe. Theists believe that us atheists think that something came from nothing. And only an idiot would believe that.
Well, how dare they tell us what we believe and what we don't believe? Fuck them.
Oh, well, if you go on Twitter, you get just show it that, atheists are paedophiles. All atheists should go to hell and die, and this is what they're like. It's a hate.
It is a hate group. It's just flat out.
I totally agree.
They just spew hate, and that's all they do.
Oh.
And lies, hate and lie, and they're only lying to themselves.
Hate, lies, deceit, and abuse.
I can fully understand these gullible people in these churches, in these mega churches, which are just circus tents, as far as I'm concerned. They just run around and get this euphoric feeling through them, and they run around. But then you get the people speaking in tongues and faith healers, and there was one died not so long ago from snake bite.
Yep. Yeah, the Pentecostals are into that. There's certain sects that think they took this scripture where if you can survive snake poison, you have this extra anointing. But mostly it's just people being dumb. It really is.
Snake poison.
Yeah, it's a thing. That's part of church.
Well, hello, Wild Heart. How you doing? Sorry.
From a part today that we know is just a fabrication. I mean, that was written way later. It was never part of any original. What is the tail end of, what is it, Matthew? I think it's in Matthew where it claims that, well, the true believers, they'll be able to drink poisons and serpents, without any ill effects. And of course, those guys in the Appalachians, they're always getting bit and dying, and they drink. They drink poison and dying, and but that's not even. We know today that that's a way recent addition to the Bible. From the 1600s probably they added it to scare people.
Well, of course, it rules on fear. It rules on fear with your hell and your things like that.
Yeah. Fear and amazement like that you'll be able to drink all manner of poisons and handle serpents and all this. If you believe in God, you'll be protected. It's like, well, no, it's clearly not the case.
Well, when I was a kid, going back to my life, I used to be put into bed at 5-6 years old while my parents went out drinking. And they say, you can't get out of bed because God's watching.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't get out of bed.
Hell, they had you well trained, huh?
I was shit scared.
So was there ever any happiness in your childhood whatsoever?
Not really. As I say, I went to a secular school for about 9 months till I was old enough to go into a senior school. I went into a junior school till I was 11. I don't know what you guys call it. We call them juniors and seniors over here.
Elementary and high.
When I went into junior school, the first, because we used to have to say prayers in the Catholic school before and after every class.
Holy crap!
But then we go into I went into, and the first thing they did was in the morning we have an assembly of the school, the junior school. It's about 100 kids, 150 kids. It was quite a big school. We say the Lord's Prayer. I thought, oh, shit, here we go again. But that was it then. That was it. Every morning, Lord's Prayer, done. And there'd be no religion forced down your throat. And then I went into a senior school, and there was none. But I was very angry. I was angry, forsaken, let's say. You know, God had abandoned me, because I actually believed in all this nonsense when I was a kid. You know, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And it took about 5 years, and I was in trouble with the police a lot, and I was fighting a lot, and just being an obnoxious teenager. And then I got my act together, and started studying, and then I did my GCSEs, then I did my A levels. Then I went off to university and got a degree in engineering, and I haven't looked back since. But I still hate the Catholic Church. And in them days, we had no internet, until in the 70s. So I'd spend a lot of my time a lot of my evenings or weekends avoiding my parents in a library. And obviously reading about it. I was in the religious section, looking through the Bible, and then looking through, and then looking from the secular side of it as well, and just learning about the evils of church and the philosophy behind it. But I don't think philosophy belongs in religion at all. I've said this before. You know, so either God exists or doesn't.
So when did you
prove the evidence?
When were you sure that there was no God?
It's probably about 15 when I realized, you know, nothing was happening.
After how many years? After how many years of abuse?
I was probably about 15. The abuse sort of stopped when I was about 12 or 13. The neglect, and I could cook for myself then and do my own things. I have a little paper round, so I can go and eat. I can pay for my own food and that.
Right.
Even though I didn't earn much, it was like £3 a week. That was working. That was delivering newspapers after school and before school, 7 days a week. Apart from Saturday, Sunday, just do the one delivery, and I got about £3 for that. And my parents took £2 of that as rent.
I was just going to say, you know, at least your parents didn't ask you for rent.
They did. They were horrible bastards. So I had a quid, but in them days, a pound you could buy.
They took 2/3 of your rent. What bunch of bastards!
Yeah, they were horrible. It was just a way of control. But you can't choose your parents.
No.
Fortunately, they're long gone now. So I never turned up at my father's funeral. I went to my mother's funeral to make sure she was dead. And they put her in the ground. My father, though, didn't even bother. And I've never looked back. They were just horrible, horrible people.
No. How has it affected you psychologically in your, up to today?
Oh, it gave me a lot of disdain for the Catholic Church and only the Catholic Church. But obviously, in this community, it's sort of basically religion, all told. I treat them all as equally ridiculous. But as I say, my main hatred growing up was just finding out about the atrocities of the Catholic Church. And they try and move along. You know, they agree about evolution. They agree about, and they try and move along secular. It's smoke and mirrors, just to hide the crap that they're up to. You know, they say, "Oh, we're progressive." You're not. You're still horrible, horrible people. You hate the Jews. Well, you hate every other religion, and everyone who doesn't bow at the foot of the Vicar of Christ. It's just a horrible, horrible religion. It's probably the worst out of all the religions. And obviously in America, Christianity is nothing. It's a business.
Christianity is the worst of all the religions, I agree.
I live in a tiny village. Yeah, I still go to church about once a month. We have a female vicar. She's lovely. And she knows I'm an atheist, and she doesn't badger me about it. But I go for the community.
They feed you after the service?
No, we all go to the pub afterwards. We have a drink.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, that hasn't happened.
It's coming back. Pubs are coming back.
During COVID. Our local pub has been closed for 18 months now.
Our pubs are believed to be, I think they're open from today, hey, Crypto?
Well, we didn't really shut down. Like, if people had patios, we were still
No, exactly.
open.
I'm talking about the full non-patio.
Yeah, I think we are, like, full out, like, everything's... I'm not sure if... Yeah, it's either this week or next week.
You know what I think? I think that
But I've always gone out, so I never...
while the weather holds, everybody will still be, you know, enjoying the outside. But when the rainy days come for a few days, it'll be legal to go inside. It'll be nice.
It'll be nice.
Yeah, that was meant to happen here on the 21st. Before that, they've been open, but a lot of the time they were closed for a good 7 or 8 months. But no, they've opened up. They opened up, but they put all these tents and areas where you could sit under, where you'd be dry and that, and you get table service. You couldn't go inside. Yeah. And from the 21st, you were allowed to go inside again, but obviously you'd have to follow rules and still social distance, and you'd still get table service rather than going to the bar yourself. But they put down, locked the relaxing of them rules. They put them back another month. So we have to wait for the 21st of July or around then to for them. They may put it back again because he seems to keep putting these relaxation of the rules or laws as they are now. Boris Johnson keeps putting them back. But I blame the anti-vaxxers. They're slowing the progress of this. I mean, they're the biggest social threat. They're the worst threat than COVID.
Did that COVID slip out of a lab somehow?
Yeah, that's just Trump and Giuliani's propaganda nonsense.
What do you think?
They have such a bad, food safety over there. This is why we've had chicken flu and all of these things. It's just evolved into COVID.
Why haven't we
been here? But no, we have. Canada has been working on this since SARS. That's why we didn't have vaccines, but our research helped all these other places.
Why didn't we close our borders to China in 1900?
Well,
Then none of this stuff would have been let in, ever. Because everything seems to fucking come from China. That's such a disgusting place.
Well, the Spanish flu was one of the worst. Killed a third of the, just after World War One. Killed a third of the population of the planet. That came from.
Didn't come from Spain, though.
That came from the
America.
States. Exactly.
That came from America.
Right.
And the other pandemic, which was a bad one, was smallpox.
Either way, it didn't come from animals. Neither of those. We're talking here to something really disgusting and depraved. Eating.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have.
There's more. Can be sure that there's more than what they're telling us about.
Oh, you can be absolutely sure. What's in the mainstream media, whether it's Chinese or here, it's only the sort of the what's palatable for the public to take. That's it. But the actual really, really, really down to the ground, nitty gritty reality facts, no, they won't let us see that.
No. We can't let them know. They can't take it.
There used to be well, it still exists. If you ever remember a website called LiveLeak.
Oh yeah. I see LiveLeak.
They're still around, but they're just as policed now as YouTube, so you can't put anything on there. But they used to put absolutely everything on there, and all the executions and
You used to see all kinds of crazy
all sorts
stuff.
of animal abuse, just bad shit.
Well, the absolute killer worst diseases come from Africa. You've got your Ebola virus, but that doesn't really spread that much because someone will feel ill and they'll go home and lie down and die, so they don't spread it about. You've got Lassa fever.
Yeah, but none of that's coming from eating animals. That's all from drinking tainted water or something.
Yeah, well, isn't that Legionnaire's disease? That's also African.
Yeah, again, but it's not. Nobody ate an animal and picked it up.
Well, you got green monkey disease, and that was passed. When that was passed for human, it became AIDS or HIV. Green monkey disease.
Right.
Why did somebody fuck a monkey?
Well, you could. Well, you could say that, but it's like.
Not quite.
I don't quite understand.
That's not
it's
how.
Like,
how did AIDS get from a monkey to man?
Well, it's like COVID. COVID mutates hundreds.
I didn't ask you about COVID. I asked you about AIDS.
Well, this is the same thing. These bacteria and viruses and whatnot, they mutate hundreds of thousands of times a day. COVID does as well. It just mutates, constantly mutates. Obviously, there's markers that these scientists look for. That could be a problem with vaccines and things like that. There could be a new variant of it. I think there's about 20 of them now, different ones that we're watching out for. That the vaccine may not be work on. The same with green monkey disease. It just mutates and mutates and mutates till it'll automatically pass to another species, which is unfortunately with humans, and considering we're genetically similar, not as much as like the chimpanzee, but we are. Then that's a logical passage for them, and then obviously that could only be passed through fluids, blood. You can't breathe on someone and give them AIDS.
Oh, all these God-given diseases. Thank you, God.
Well, yeah, that was what he said about presuppositional nature. Darth Dawkins, at the end of the day, as I say, God must have caused all these diseases and given AIDS to babies and things like that. It's all down to God. He's still an evil prick.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only that's the only logical conclusion to Darth Dawkins' argument, as far as I could see.
Yes, I'm with you there.
Yeah. Darth Dawkins. I pretty much figured that he really just likes to get on and abuse people. I'm not even convinced he's a big Christian believer. I kind of doubt that he is. He likes getting on and abusing people, and he did it with his own family. I mean, he's just an abusive person. He just gets off on his narcissism, feeds his narcissism by getting online and harassing people, putting them down and calling them children and all that.
Yeah, typical Christian. He hates others. He don't abide by his crap. But that's religion for you. It's abusive and hateful.
Have to be to a certain way. You're saved, and everybody else is just scumbags, as Darth says. Gary. Oh, these scumbag atheists, scumbags.
Yeah, going to hell, that was shoehorned into the religion in the 17th century. Nice.
Who's FI who came in? FI?
I'm here. You can just call me Keith.
Keith?
Hi, Keith.
Hey. I heard you guys were talking about the Canadian Catholic situation that's here in Canada.
Yeah, it's great in the north, eh? Happy Canada Day.
Yeah, I'm not celebrating Canada Day today. But
I still put up a flag. I mean, it still means something to me, even though this event will still be a disaster tomorrow. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Do what you need to do. Like, I'm not, if you want to, like, I'm very disappointed in Canada. I'm very, very disappointed. And
for what exactly?
For the residential schools, for all that shit that went down, like, unreal. And I grew up in Canada. I grew up in Alberta. I grew up right beside the Ermiskin Reservation. I used to be friends with, I never knew anything about residential schools until the past 5 years.
Really? I grew up in Alberta too, but I think because I had family, you heard about it. It was there, but it was just part of how things were.
Well, I should say, sorry, go ahead.
But now it's like out in the open. Now it seems everyone cares. But where were you when I was a kid? Where were you when these, 40 years ago, it's everyone's jumping on this bandwagon, but nobody cared before. Those bodies were still there. They've been there for decades.
And
that's crazy.
I get that. And I shouldn't say, I shouldn't say that I only heard, I knew about residential schools growing up, but I didn't know what went on in them.
It's not your fault because it was so covered up. It was and also the families didn't really want to talk about it. It was there, but it was so hurtful that it wasn't discussed. And there is such blatant racism in Canada. It wasn't their problem. We're white. That's not our problem. I just wanted, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, just like I used to chastise Americans all the time about their racism and stuff like that. I never, because I grew up around Native people. I never was racist. I never thought of them, but also I was a half black kid with adopted white parents, surrounded by a million white people. So
Yeah, I can appreciate that on the prairies.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, especially in Alberta.
yeah,
Yeah.
and,
Do.
yeah, Alberta's the Texas of Canada. Like it is just, it is so bad. But I only came across racism maybe once or twice, but it's also, as I got older, my skin started to lighten. I wasn't as dark. So I think people don't know that I'm half black, especially now. Like if you see me now, people don't think it. But anyways.
I could hear it in your voice, but it's funny. In where I grew up in a really small town. I
got them dogs.
But I didn't. There was such a divide. Like all the black families were religious, so there was more a religious divide than a racial divide.
Yeah. Yeah, I only came across racism a couple times, but like I knew where I grew up, the white people in town did not like the reservation. And I knew that. And I was always like, well, screw you. You guys are a bunch of idiots because, these are awesome people. And it just, I never heard about it though. Like I was friends with quite a few Indigenous people and they never said anything to me about residential schools. And I just don't understand, like, holy crap. Like, how could this go on for so long?
This is what I don't get about America. They celebrate Christopher Columbus, who basically murdered and raped and pillaged his way through South America.
Yep.
Yet they never celebrate the Native Americans.
And that I was thinking about that the other day. Like, if this was happening in Canada in the Catholic residential schools, what about all of North America? Like the Indigenous people in the States, I know they don't have it very good. Central America, South America, like how many graves can we lay at the Catholic Church? Like, seriously.
Oh, if you go back to the year dot, they were the cause of all the holy wars.
Oh, I know. But I'm just talking with residential schools, with teaching the Indigenous. Like, how many graves are there out there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what really irritates me is after finding out about residential schools, but even before that, finding out about all the sex crimes that the Catholic Church does, all the torture, the injustice to women, the Salem witch trials, how anybody could still support that church.
Yeah, it is out of all the religions, it is the worst.
I don't understand how people can still support it. Because
they're good at covering things up. That's what they're good at. Like moving their paedophile priests around the world out of jurisdiction from prosecution. They're good at that. But if they move them from America to Australia, there's still going to be a paedophile in Australia.
Yeah.
They don't change because they've moved.
Nope. They just make it easier for them. Because they know that they can do it again and they'll just be moved again. They'll be safe. I think the Catholic Church should be dismantled. And I think all bishops and the Pope and all cardinals should be charged with related crimes, whatever connection they had to this. And I think they should, and I think the Pope should dismantle the church. Done, gone. The Vatican becomes a museum. All the money that the Vatican owns and has goes to supply I think South America, Central America, North America at least, and Africa, because of the devastation that they do there. I think the Catholic Church should be dismantled. It should be done. It should be gone.
Well, as I said earlier, the Catholic Church embraces
I agree.
war and poverty.
100%.
It loves it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Mother Teresa. She was bad.
Horrible.
The Catholic Church is a disgrace, and I agree. Should be gone.
It should be, but and then the problem, of course, is they got tentacles into so much around the world. That I mean,
Cut them off. Cut the tentacles off.
Should be, but all I'm saying is who's gonna do it when
I'll do it.
So much.
I'll do it.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
but even on top of that, they can still, like I'm saying, turn the whole Vatican into a museum, show all the art that they have, open up the archives, but also put in all their atrocities and everything. And all the money that the Vatican makes as a museum goes out to help the charities that they already help. And they'll keep supplying money and everything else. And they have enough money that they could keep supplying those charities for a fucking lifetime. Like, it's just, it's...
Yeah,
it needs to be dismantled. It needs to be torn down. It is the worst organization in the world.
We said this earlier. America has a world debt which is equal to every other country combined, which is tremendous as far as I'm concerned. But the Vatican is one of a very few select countries that has always been in the green. It's always had billions.
Yep.
It's never been in deficit at all.
Oh no.
Because it gets involved in all the dictators. It gets involved in its involvement with advising Hitler on how to kill the Jews.
Wow.
In the Holocaust, because that was the first people they went after in the Holy War with the Jewish. Then they went after the Islam, the Muslims, and whatnot. It's just. But it, as I say, but Christianity is caught up. It's just a hate cult. And like anywhere where you go, where you have to kneel, stand up, sing hymns and psalms and pray and say amen at the end of everything and praise Jesus and bow to an effigy and cross your chest. That's the definition of a cult. When you congregate and do that is a cult. But did you know there's over 2,000 people on this planet alive now that run actual cults that say they are reincarnated Jesus?
Yeah, I've seen some of the Russian ones. I like checking them out just because. And then there's the Turkish one. I think it's Turkish, but that one, I wasn't sure what was going on. There's just a bunch of blonde women there. I wasn't sure. I might be getting mixed up. I thought it was like Turkish Jesus, or he was trying to start his own like Barbie army. Not sure.
See, I like Scientology. It's so ridiculous.
Oh, there's a fun one.
That it's actually laughable. It's funny.
They do some terrible stuff. They have some.
Oh yeah, people. They murder their conquer. Here, give us your money, and then we'll starve you to death. Yay! Get those demons out. Oh, aliens, or whatever they are.
Well, they've all committed atrocities. Even the Jewish, which apparently were the fair. They say were the fair. This is Ken Ham. who was a young Earth creationist, of course, who said it was 6,000 years, but he couldn't get round Hinduism. So he now says it's between 12 and 20,000 years old, the Earth. It was created between, which is just a contradiction in his old doctrine. He couldn't get round the Hinduism, but that was when the start of millennia before Christianity.
Yeah.
Anyway, but even the Jews, there was a valley just outside Jerusalem called Genhenna Valley, where the Jews just sacrificed their children to God for no reason at all. The Christians did it as well afterwards. You know, they don't disrespect your parents, so you'd be stoned to death or fed to the wolves. You know, it's just a bloodlust, and God has got this bloodlust where He just wants people to die and be sacrificed. And you know, He has these rules for slavery, He has these rules for abortion, and it's just you know, I think was it Deuteronomy or Leviticus, where if a woman is believed to have strayed from her husband, she's to be taken into the church, where she'll be served bitter waters, which will void her uterus. Basically, it's like a morning after pill, and then she'll be killed afterward. God told Moses when they went through Canaan to rip open the women and with child, rip them open and kill the child within. It's just pure evil.
This is what they teach kids in school.
You're having ice cream, aren't you?
No,
oats.
They never teach that nonsense at all to kids. They teach all the good, they cherry pick good parts. And the Noah's Ark story is always a nice one to teach them. But they never mention genocide. Yeah, they don't read all that. A lot of the time they read the kids the New Testament, the wisdom of Jesus and the old loving Jesus, but he never condoned the Old Testament. You know, he told people to abide by that, by the Old Testament, by the laws.
He didn't even exist.
Well, yeah, but in the New Testament, you know, whether he existed, well, I don't think he existed, because the Romans back then were crucifixion was their way of execution. Which is granted, but Romans kept very good records, and there's not one mention of Jesus in any of them records at all.
Actually, it wasn't like there was one Jesus. It was like there was so many, they couldn't pick out which one is the actual Jesus. It was a common name back then. Some of the records have Jesus, like the Son and the Father, but these are just names. Like they actually, you're right, but there's been like more recent research. Like they have actually figured out no, there's quite a few Jesuses out there.
Well, yeah. If Jesus is Jewish, why has he got a Mexican name?
I know. It's the Ark. It's the Ark.
And according to the Mormons, Jesus was the greatest American that ever lived. Because Jesus met Joseph Smith on American soil, didn't he? Joseph Smith, the convicted con man who used to con farmers by divining for gold on their land, and for a payment he'd say, yeah, go dig there for gold. He'd take the payment and disappear to the next farm. This poor farmer's digging away and not finding anything. Yeah, he was a convicted con man.
Mm-hmm.
And what's with all the special underwear they wear? What's all that about? And them young kids, they're called, they're indoctrinated to a point where they become missionaries, don't they? That's what they call themselves, missionaries. Door knockers they are. There's a Mormon church not far from where I live.
They would stalk me playing Pokemon. I swear these guys, wherever I was, and I was walking for like kilometers, and all of a sudden they're there with another card. I'm like, no, I'm busy. How about you hear the word of Pikachu?
Yeah, they are, I don't know what they're trying to achieve. Because obviously when you join the church, you have to buy this special underwear at an extortionate price.
How much? How much?
I haven't looked it up actually, but I know it's I know in Tesco's you can probably get 3 pairs of boxer shorts in a pack for a quarter the price what they charge for one pair of their real old pad underpants.
Underwear.
Yeah, but theirs is magical.
The magical underpants. Yeah.
I have magical underwear too.
I mean,
that joke, sorry.
they and they're white, so they probably don't silence farts and get skid marks like any other pair of underwear. But hey ho. But I say it's all about the money. But these are American churches that have infiltrated.
No, but they send their kids up here for missionary work because it's safe here for their kids to wander around the city and try and recruit people than try and do it in parts of the States.
Yeah, it's the same here with the witnesses and the Mormons. You as soon as you open the door, you see 2 teenagers with their badges and their books in their hand.
And their knowledge, remember their knowledge.
Yeah, the Church of the Latter-day Saints, yeah, go away. I mean, it's a shame on them that, these kids should be standing in a pub looking for girls, as far as I'm concerned. They're at that age. But
they're
no,
probably
they're
stalking the good spots, secretly playing. I know those type.
And they pick on they pick on the old people, on the pensioners and things like that. That's what they do. They're all horrible, all of them. No matter what you look at, no matter how you look at it, any faith-based belief is incredibly pointless as far as I'm concerned. But they've got these books, which are no pathway to truth as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
But they seem to believe in it. I mean, good luck to you if it gets them out of bed of a morning and they can, it gets them through their life. And yeah, crack on, believe what you want. But don't shove it down my throat because you'll get a mouthful. But they're all con men, all of them.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's a form of control.
Well, yeah, it's a form of making money as well, isn't it? In America, a lot of them churches, you have to hand over 10% of your wages. Imagine the and that's 10%. Imagine the holidays and the cars and wherever you could have bought with the money you've given to the likes of Kenneth Copeland. You pay for him to pray for you. Give him money. The man is a multi-billionaire. You've got 2 jumbo jets, 2 747. What he wants with 2 747s, I do not know.
God said that he needed them.
Well, he's only got one arse as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but God said he needed them. So, you know, I don't know what he needs. I don't know what God needs him to have a jet for, but couldn't he just pick him up and...
Well, God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. So mysterious, you can't even see it.
Yeah, so you shouldn't be surprised that you can't understand.
You know, I look at this the other way too with what's going on in the Catholic Church. If I was God, and this was all being done in my name, no matter which denomination is right, whether it's Muslims are right or Jews are right or whoever, but this is all being done in his name or her name, its name. I would step up if I was God, and I'd be like, no, this is not me. This has nothing to do with me, and all these people are going to be punished. So that's one of the reasons, one of the many, many, many reasons I don't think God exists, is because if I was God, I would be stepping up and going,
"You're better than God.
This is not going to happen anymore in my name."
So you are better. You are better than God. You are actually more moral than God.
I know.
Because you recognize that evil must be stopped, if possible.
Yeah.
And with God, everything's possible, even stopping evil. Is that not true?
Well, yeah. Like, I guess it comes back to the question of evil then. Like, why would God permit this?
And yeah, exactly. Evil exists, therefore God doesn't. Simple.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like the whole flooding the earth thing that people believe because everybody else was wicked. Why wouldn't he come down and go, hey, you guys are doing it wrong. I'm right here. I don't want to have to kill you. So this is me. This is what I can do. This is what I did. But no, instead he just goes, the easiest way would just be to kill them all and start all over again.
Well, this is it. When Adam and Eve broke the rules, why didn't he just get rid of the 2 and start again? Why did he have to wait till there was hundreds of thousands of people on the planet?
Yeah, but that's the thing, is he's omniscient, so he knew that this was going to happen. He knew that he would have to flood the world. So why pick this way of doing things?
Because that's the best that the people who wrote the story could come up with.
Yeah, I know. Well, because they were primitive, they didn't know any better.
Right, exactly.
And I don't blame the people that started this. Like, I don't blame the people that first wrote the documents. I don't blame them, because they were primitive people. They were just learning. But we're in the 20th century. Like, it's 2021. Science has shown us many more wonders than religion ever could have.
Yes.
Grow up.
Also, when the flood, how did Noah survive the altitude? Because it covered the tallest mountain, which is 60-odd thousand feet, as Everest.
Well, the atmosphere would have pushed out.
It still would have been cold up there.
It probably would have been a higher pressure because there would have been more mass, because there would have been more water.
It would be a lot more. It probably would have. The gravity would have changed to probably G8.
Yeah, like that. There's a whole bunch more water. That means there's a whole bunch more mass, and to cover every mountain on the Earth, like that's a lot of mass. the moon would have been different, would have been either moved or changed. Everything would have been just catastrophic.
The water is quite a dense material as well.
Yeah.
As a fluid, it's very dense.
And that's the other thing. Like they talk about how the flood, did everything all at once and blah blah blah, and like created the Grand Canyon and stuff and like that. And I'm like, do you know how much pressure would have been at the bottom with all this water on top of it? Like the crust would have shrunk. It would have been pushed in. Like, it's just unbelievable to even think of. Like, the physics behind it is impossible. It's impossible.
Exactly. Plus, geologists have already proven that that the Grand Canyon was formed from the Ice Age, last Ice Age.
Yeah, but
obviously that was thousands and thousands of years ago, which goes beyond their doctrine. So that's another. We'll just deny that, like we deny evolution. You got Ken Ham and Ken Hovind saying that human beings are running